This is GT Racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going around the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my God!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Section's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go!
Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Good evening and welcome back to SimSpeed TV. It's a Thursday night, which means you return to our coverage from season number 7 of the SimRigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. We head across from Australia up to the Netherlands. It's time to head to Zandvoort for the 6th round of this season. My name is Daniel Yeaman. David Haynes rejoining us in the commentary box after his sojourn across the world, and Jay Kennedy still on production as always here. Oh dear, that's Scott Fontaine. Well, pretend it's actually Jay Kennedy, and that will be all good and well there. Well, good to have you back with us, David, and already halfway through the season now, so starting to get into the crunch time of things here tonight with another sprint round up for grabs. And, well, certainly been a busy bit of action for the past couple of weeks, but hopefully get to see more of the good stuff now that you're here to join us once again.
Yeah, GT3 action, couple of rounds, and the balance of performance, shakes its way out. You see what the dominant cars are, and hopefully begins to compensate a bit for it. Looking at that Zandvoort circuit in its sort of pre-Dutch Grand Prix, guys, but predominantly the same layout it was for many years, and had lots of sports car racing, local racing. DTM raced on this layout as well for many a season.
Indeed, it did. Of course, the several corners, notably Tarzan Bocht, Hugenholz Bocht, and Kumo Bocht and Air Leyenduck Bocht being the corners that obviously did get those massive reprofile changes to accommodate the Formula One cars back in 2021 for the Dutch Grand Prix. So, of course, old school configuration for tonight, so certainly a little bit slower around here, but we'll still make for some, pretty still fast-paced action around here tonight in the GT3 cars that we've got out on circuit now, and we'll have a few out on track for the next little while tonight. So, of course, as always, Pass 2 will be up first. Let's have a look at the championship standings in this series before we get to the racing action here for these guys. And, well, may have missed the first 2 rounds of the season, but Matthew Bowler has absolutely dominated otherwise since getting on board at round 3 back at the Red Bull Ring. Currently leads championship there by a nice and healthy margin of 32 points there. My apologies. Oh, 31, I can count. Math is good today. So 31 points there, pardon me. Matthew Bowler's advantage over Brady Buchanan, who's had a couple of rough rounds, David, in the past couple of weeks in particular, unfortunately. But hopefully he can mount a comeback fight and stick it to these boys here at the moment. Sebastian Flock also joining the series at the same time as Bowler, sitting there in 3rd place. And then you can see actually a good tight battle there, 4, 5, 6 with Liam Caplice, Thomas Leprake and Simon Mazzomo, all covered by less than 24 points exactly covering those 3. And then a couple of guys there fighting towards the back end of the top 10. Should make for a good bit of championship fighting here in the next couple of weeks as we get towards the end of season number 7. But, well, at this stage, after such a dominant arrival on the scene for Matt Bowler in particular, it looks like it's going to be his championship to walk away with here, unless something drastic happens in a bad way for Bowler.
You love some championship standings like that, though. There can only ever be one person at the pinnacle, but you love when you look down the order and you see 4th and 5th are close to each other, 8th and 9th are close to each other, for example. Not everyone needs to be fighting for the lead, but everyone has someone to fight, someone to race, and that's what it's about.
Yes, so here we are now in the dying stages of qualifying before we get the Pass 2 race underway. Of course, single race as part of the sprint format tonight, 25 minutes on the clock. So anyone who gets across the line before the checkered flag flies will get the chance to put one more lap on the board. And you can see indeed Matt Bowler, Hayden Veld, Sebastian Flock and David Hueso, our top 4, well and truly tonight at this stage. There goes the checkered flag. Last car across the line would have been maybe Aaron Maguire there. Not entirely sure if he beat the line though. Otherwise it'll be Matt Tesseriro, who most definitely is the next man who will get a chance to do one more lap here as several drivers pull into the lane there. But we'll check in now with Matthew Keane, David, who will be the next driver across the line to wrap up their qualifying session here tonight.
Great Australian Mercedes livery here through that flat out final corner, Arie Lugendijk Bocht. A lot of these corners around here named after a lot of great Dutch racing drivers. And for Keane, it looked like it might have been, just missing out on an improvement by about 0.2 there.
Unfortunately, close, but not quite is going to be the motto of that one there. Sebastian Flock going to be the next man across the line, looking to improve on 134.4. What does he do over the line? He does improve by a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. A 34.421 is indeed an improvement, but Hayden Veld came across the line and also improved on that last lap, so they will stay as they are. And, well, there we go. Top 4 look to be locked in now.
Maguire was the last man to that line, recall.
Indeed he was, and Maguire currently done a personal best on this lap, but he'll probably need at least one more here to move up the timesheets, and currently down in 20th place at this stage. Can he get that Porsche around the last couple of turns here? And he's up to now, unfortunately, last turn there, Lunduk. Probably going to get that name absolutely
Arie
Lundijk. Well, we'll try and get that right tonight because Dutch not particularly my strong suit. And there is an improvement there from Maguire, 37.901 at the end of qualifying. Unfortunately, that will keep him in 20th place to start this race, about 7/10 back, or 6/10 back, I should say, from the next car in line there. So that looks to be everyone done in qualifying, means that we now get to go to the grid for Pass 2 here at the 6th round of the Simrigs.com AusPro Sim Series Season number 7. Once again, Matthew Bowler will be the man to take the green flag tonight. He's got Hayden Veld joining him on that front row to make it a Mercedes BMW 1-2, and we see that repeated on the second row with Sebastian Flock and David Hueso in that same order, Merc then BMW. So we'll have Mercs on the right side of screen. No, that'll be left side of screen if we're looking down towards the field from turn 1, and BMW's on the right side. Then we're going to have ourselves a little bit different there. Jeffrey Wang and Brady Buchanan will be starting on the third row tonight in 5th and 6th place. Then we have ourselves an all-Porsche front row there with all-Porsche row of Matt Tesseriro and Simon Mazzomo for 7th and 8th. Jordan Ferguson out of P9 is joined by Jamie Blackman to round out our top 10. And then Matt Keane and Angus Kelly to round out the first 12 of our drivers tonight.
And that's about the halfway point of our 24-car grid as well, because then the next row has Liam Caplice and Hayden Jackson. Got Stuart Brown and Paul Longworth for an all-Ferrari row 8, and Matt Hardigan and Reese Ashmore there on row 9. The rest of the grid goes Andrew Proctor and Aaron Maguire. We saw his final qualifying run there, and Jack Anderson, Patrick Panton, Shane Newens, and Ray Harrison is the last driver on the grid, but with a pretty respectable qualifying time nonetheless there as well. I'm looking forward to this race.
Yeah, 24 drivers to take the field tonight. Race control just going over the final couple of things here. And while we are seeing these cars on the grid, we're going to have ourselves a full lap formation here from Zandvoort tonight, so that will be important to keep in mind. Of course, as always, heavy fuel restrictions here in AusPass. 20 to 22 litres of starting fuel. Fuel tank cap of 28% means that for most of these cars we're looking at not much more fuel than that. So we'll be a one-stopper, of course, but drivers here might need to be a little bit more careful. About 29.7, or exactly 29.7 litres for the Mercedes is the upper limit on that one there. As well, hang on, boys. Safety car hasn't started rolling just yet. Give yourselves a moment before we get this one underway. There goes the iRacing pace car. And we can get this formation lap underway here, David.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great time to talk about the conditions then as well. You can see it's overcast. It doesn't look especially hot, but the track temperature is at 31, 32 Celsius. So that's still, warm enough to feel the tyre wear and not have quite as much grip. You know, that's almost going to be close to a second a lap off if the compared to where the pace would be if the track temp was about 20 or 22 Celsius.
Yeah, that will be important to note. We should see different conditions later on for the Pro-Am, and that will hopefully give us a good benchmark, because certainly some of the top guys here in Pass 2 probably could hold their own just fine in the Pro-Am if they were had taken part in the whole pre-qualification process that this series runs. Of course, if you've not joined us for any of our broadcasts here from Season 7 of the Simrace.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series, the Pass 2 category we're watching here right now is open to all. If you want to get involved in the series, if you're watching us on YouTube, simply head to the description of the stream. You can find information there on how to get in or find the social media channels of AusPass, and I believe there might even be a Discord channel linked there, because the Discord server is where this series runs everything, and indeed there is the Discord link and the Facebook link for AusPass on our YouTube stream tonight. If you're joining us elsewhere and want to switch over there to find out more information about the series. So up through the top part of the circuit here, Hunsrug, Rob, Slaughter, Mega Box. Probably got that horrendously wrong once again. And then up to here, Scheivlach. This will be obviously the high speed section of the circuit. Very easy to come unstuck over, it's what, turn 6 and into 7 here if you try and come in with maximum commitment and then brake super duper late. And then down into this next section here, Master Bocht, Renat Bocht. And then I believe it's just simply called turn 10, or as the Dutch would therefore say, Bocht 10. As well, if you haven't called it out by now, Bocht is the Dutch word for turn or corner. So you'll hear plenty of that from us tonight if we opt to go for some of the Dutch names, or at least just get a bit of Dutch in with our commentary tonight.
Yeah, either we'll learn by the end, or we'll get some complaint letters.
Well, I guess that's true. One way or another, we'll either make a complete hash of it and refer back to turns and English numbers, or we might give it a go. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I was told to give it a proper shot, but then I got busy cooking dinner and didn't actually go do my Dutch lessons for the day, so apologies.
My favourite is at Zolder, and it's sort of in the final sector. There's a really tight corner called Bolderberg Haarspeltbocht.
Of course there is. Of course there is. Well, I do believe you'll get a chance to at least see that later on a Tuesday night in a couple of weeks' time. Though you aren't covering the AOG Porsche Cup, that series is heading to Zolder in no more than 4 weeks' time. So we will see Circuit Zolder here on SimSpeed TV in the not too distant future. But let's not worry about the future now, because of course our field coming around Humo Bocht and up to the final turn here to get ready to receive the green flag. Of course, the important thing being that need to make sure we maintain 80 kilometers per hour here in Pass 2 and later on in the Pro-Am. Wait for the green flag from Barney at the timing line, so all drivers need to make sure they're holding the speed here onto the front straight, get the formation nice and tight, and then get this race underway in a couple moments' time. Pace car is in, there goes the green flag, and we get this race underway for round number 6 of the Simrace.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series in Pass 2. We've got 3 wide already for the second row of the field. Jeffrey Wayne should have got the inside of Huezo, but it's going to be Brady Buchanan around the outside trying to make that stick there at turn 1, and he is going to make that one stick and get himself up into P4 there. So good move there from the number 16 driver in the championship hunt as well. Get some pressure on our front runners as they make their way down into Hugenholzbock, turn 3 for the first time here, David.
Yeah, and what about that Ferrari looking down the inside of turn number 1, thinking better of it? The track really narrows through there. It is narrowed through this opening section. Gets a bit more flow.
Oh, Buchanan's loose, top of the hill. Turn 6, turn 7, Buchanan. Oh, actually gathers it back up here, and he's not going to hit the fence. Incredible recovery there from Buchanan after a great start. Unfortunately, watch him get absolutely swarmed. Pardon me for the interruption, David, but oh, that was an incredible thing. Hopefully we can get a chance to look at that one on replay in a moment's time once this all settles down, which it looks to have settled down. But have a look at this here on the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School. Just over the top of Hunsrug, turn 5 there, and then Rob Schlotter-Meckerbock, turn 6, and whoop, over the curb, and keeps it off the Arbco by the barest of margins.
Yeah, just way too much curb there on the way in. Really quick. Car bounces, manages to catch that slide and not get hit. I think not getting hit was the more impressive part there, because the whole field immediately behind the fast starting Greg Buchanan, a little bit of hip and shoulder action.
Yeah, Liam Caplice in the number 20 Mercedes AMG just gets into the side of Jamie Blackman in the number 15 Ferrari. That makes Blackman quite vulnerable here down the front stretch. It's Matt Keane in that number 38 Mercedes up the inside here for turn 1, but Keane not able to get there on the brakes, and in fact that's going to allow Blackman to come down in front and take the apex like he would prefer to do. So hangs on to 10th place there to get lap 2 underway here. So these guys continue the fight as that's Sebastian Fock getting very loose on the exit of Hugenholtz Bock there. He's going to drop back from your top 2 there. And, well, for the driver running 3rd in the championship, certainly would like to stay at the front of the field, but it gives David Hueso a bit of a chance at sneaking back into that top 4 fight, which he was there on qualifying pace, but not quite here on lap 1, it seems, David. But now got a chance to reset and go again after the 3rd place driver of Flock. As we check in here with Mazomo and Jeffrey Wang. Mazomo up 3 spots off the start of this race already, doing a nice job once again. Now got Jeffrey Wang, though, looking to get back to where he started at least, having lost a spot on the opening lap there.
Yeah, all that we've seen, including Buchanan going backwards. Simon Mazomo up into this spot here, but he's looking under quite some pressure at this point. Wang was almost very aggressive on the race start, thought better of it, and is now looking to pick up some of those positions that he just couldn't quite do on from the 3 wide in towards turn 1.
It's definitely an ambitious gamble here at Zandvoort to go 3 wide into Tarzan box. Certainly plenty of camber and banking to help you out, as I'm seeing further on back. Liam Caplice wide through turn 13. Kumo Box is allowed Brady Buchanan up the inside through the final turn, but drag race down the front stretch. The power of that Mercedes. Meanwhile, it's a drag race at the end of the straight between Mazomo and Wang as well. So double side by side into the first corner. Both drivers there go quite a bit deep, David, but they're going to keep the side by side. I'm sure though in turn 3, one of them has to yield. It's actually going to be Buchanan on the inside to back out of that one and give up the spot for now. That's actually turn 2, my apologies, but Buchanan going to have to try again after a good attempt there at the end of the previous lap.
Yeah, they're all really stacked up in this part here from Matt Tesoriero backwards. You've got almost half the field. You could see them in some of the shots. Really stacked together in the middle of this field. Up front, spreading out a little bit. Isabella Veld then to the battle there amongst others. Caplice and Buchanan. But this is what I'm talking about. Just a real line of cars still in this section of the battle.
Yeah, that's curious to watch here as this race ticks on, because we know these cars start with about 15 minutes of fuel, depending on the circuit and the number of laps that they can do here. In fact, I actually probably go look at some numbers that I did when I was doing some testing for a friend, and actually run you some fuel numbers from a couple of these cars rather than estimate those. But the important thing, of course, a full formation lap will have burned off a little bit more fuel than these guys might have expected. Most of the tracks have been to this season only giving us a partial formation lap, so not going to be much fuel difference burn, but it might make the difference between committing to an extra lap out here at race pace and playing it safe. And coming in early is Tesoriero out in the grass through 13 and 14. That car is not quite going to slow down. Actually, it's at the back, he will slow that one down just in time to grab some runoff asphalt there, but well, he tumbles down the order. And oh, trouble meanwhile behind. Multiple cars going off. Stuart Brown there, the McLaren of Jack Anderson. Goodness me, this final couple of turns here, David, suddenly become a bit of a chaos zone. Oh, under the grass and the wall on the inside there. Another car, Aaron Maguire in the 421 indeed.
The ghost of Ari Luyendijk's being angered, and he's taking victims. He's taking names on this lap. 3, 4, 5 cars all the way out there, and some with more significant damage. Particularly, I think Brown might have had a bit of damage. That's the McLaren drift. Ferrari, I think, definitely had some damage. Maguire tries to sneak down the inside of the car, making evasive action. It doesn't end well for him.
Yeah, Ray Harrison there in the 24 Porsche, a bit of a rough run through the corner for him, and yeah, Maguire just trying to find a way through where there wasn't quite a way through. Back to live pitches we go, and the fight for P5 is certainly on. Jeffrey Wang looking for the inside at turn number 10 there on Simon Mazomo, but he backs out of it and opts to slot back in line once again. He's getting close, but not quite able to make something stick just yet, David. But, well, patience certainly been a strong set of Jeffries for the most part this season, but looking to play things as, Matt Tesseriro down towards the back of the field is now backwards once again on the exit of turn 10.
More damage this time. That's actually found the wall. He did such a great job avoiding the wall in the final corner earlier. That was impressive, but that we've just seen with the damage less so.
Indeed, it is. Look there in the background, it's Blackman and Matt Keane going at it side by side down towards turn 1. Blackman on the outside in the Ferrari, Matt Keane up the inside in the Ferrari, but Keane not able to get there under brakes. The space is left by Blackman, a little bit of overlap there, meaning he needs to play that one smart, and with the inside line of the banking, Matt Keane will actually finish the job there on the exit of turn 1 as we ride on board with Jordan Ferguson just in behind these two.
Yeah, a wiggle from the Ferrari on the exit. Much better drive for Keane in the Mercedes. Got in front, went chop and took that racing line as the track not only really narrows, but the Armco gets so close there at Hugenholtz.
Yes, it does indeed. Right, so a couple of things here about what we can expect from fuel economy for a couple of these cars. I have numbers on the Porsche, the Mercedes, and the Lamborghini. I can tell you the Porsche is burning here around 2.5 litres per lap. The Lamborghini is a little bit more thirsty at 2.7 per lap. And then, pardon me, that was the Mercedes, I told you, 2.7. And then the Lamborghini, I would expect somewhere smack bang in the middle. And yes, it is about 2.6 to 2.65 litres per lap. So that is all looking fairly well and balanced. And the Porsche does run 20 litres of starting fuel versus 22 for the Mercedes and 21 for everything else to help balance that all out there. So they should all have, it's about 7 laps, if I'm not mistaken, of fuel when it comes to a flying lap stint. So if they've been smart on the opening lap, 6 laps, and then maybe the option to stretch to 7 here in this first stint of the race.
I've got a 4km/h advantage to Jeffrey Wang in the speed trap compared to Simon Mizomo who in the Porsche who he's racing. Part of that could be the slipstream, but definitely seems like the Porsche tough to get around in the corners, braking pretty well, but the top end speed down the pit straight of the Ferrari has kept him in touch.
Absolutely, it will be. The Porsche certainly not known for being the slipperiest car in a straight line, or at least the best car in a straight line, that is for sure. That would almost certainly go to either the BMW, Mercedes, or even chuck in the Ferrari there into that conversation. And, well, the strength in the Porsche certainly being the late braking capacity, and if you get it slowed down enough, absolutely, well rail on the front tyres and get it absolutely to turn in there, and then hope you don't put the power down too early as we're checking out the battle between Liam Caplice and Brady Buchanan is still going on after an earlier attempt from Buchanan, but he's not quite made his way through yet. And what that has done is it means that while Buchanan's actually the leader, Caplice, pardon me, is technically the leader of this group of cars that once had Matt Tesseriro at the start as different lines there through turns 9 and 10, not quite working out for Buchanan, but he's certainly making Caplice think about the defensive a little bit more aggressively as trouble further back for Jordan Ferguson. He's dropped off the back of the group, unfortunately, in the grass on the inside of turn 10, but this fight continues on here for 7th place, and Matt Keane is going to join the party to make it a Lamborghini and a Mercedes sandwich here.
Yeah, Keane was faster than the two in front on the last lap, and you can see right in the picture now when you look at all three evenly spaced, ought to be flat out through that final corner if you get it right. That's angling for the pit in there for Buchanan, and he's going to be one of the earliest stoppers.
Well, there we go. 6 laps of fuel. Sounds about right, but a little bit on the short side, clearly, compared to the rest of the field. He's the first man down the lane, but this also might be his chance to get a pit stop done and then try and undercut Caplice here in the cycle. As, of course, he will have slightly less fuel to put in the car to make it home, perhaps, given he'll be topping that thing up pretty much. As we check in with Mizomo and Wang once again, our closest two on track by far at this point in the race, and Jeff Wang is still trying to find a way through here, David, but still can't quite find a way through on that Porsche as we look out the back of the 551 machine from Mizomo.
I just don't think the Ferrari is getting the traction out of the slow corners either. Very often you see it start to kick a little sideways, and the traction control comes in and stalls out your progress until the car straightens out again. So just keep an eye on the tail of the Ferrari to start to wag a little bit, and then snap back into line.
Ferrari very much known for being a little bit fast and loose with the traction control, and therefore when it kicks in, it will hamper the run off of the corners. Well, through there at turns 11 and 12, that wasn't quite what Mizomo want, as unfortunately we were informed, and you can see there on screen a very, very long pit stop.
That looks like
for
speeding on
Brady
pit entry,
Buchanan,
doesn't it?
And yeah, 52 seconds looks like pit stop plus speeding penalty. I will quickly go verify that as your race leaders are all down onto the lane. 7 laps indeed being the tank range here tonight.
Yeah, the only driver who kept going from the leading group there, David Huzo, so he's kept going, but you've seen your whole top 3 come in, and many, many others. It's a run on pit lane at the minute. Also staying out for another one, Liam Caplice. Now, that doesn't surprise me massively. He liked to do that in the Porsche as well, but look at that. Veld, quicker through the lane, has taken the lead away from Bowler.
Oh, sitting there in P2 seems to have done some good. Now, interesting with Brady Buchanan, looked fine on the way in, maybe just actually getting himself an unsafe entry, perhaps.
Did he cut across too late?
It's a very slight cut across the painted...
Hatching.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's very, very slight, but that might just be all it took there to take that one unstuck. As
you saw, he didn't go all the way, right-hand side of the circuit and in. He kind of turned into the pit lane from middle of the road, and maybe he's crossed one of the white lines on the way in. Very rare you see that here, though.
Yeah, it was over the painted median area. That's what I was trying to get to. And I think that is unfortunately what has brought him undone here. It's not much, but certainly clearly enough to completely derail things as he carries on. So that's important to know, yes, ma'am. Hayden Veld, your effective leader of the race, and able to undercut Matt Bowler by a substantial margin, taking nearly 2 seconds less fuel at the stop. There's David Huezo trying for 8 laps in this race, has run out of fuel at the penultimate corner there, David.
He's going slow when we looked at him earlier, and he's coming to a halt. That's a shame. He had 22 seconds in hand over your leader, but it hasn't been enough. Liam Caplice, though, looks like he's measured it out just enough. Pressure oil low. Oh, no. And then he's hit the wall on the way in.
Yeah, unfortunately, the pressure oil low warning there is something that we see by default.
I know. I was hoping it was going to say fuel low, and I could say, well, duh.
Yes, well, the joys of basic thought, the things it does to make sure we can't get too much free information that could accidentally be shared on to others from the dash display. So back with your actual race leaders now. Hayden Veld leading Matt Bowler, but the gap is half a second, if that, under 4/10 now. Next man back is Sebastian Flock, but he's 5 seconds adrift of these two. He's got zero pressure now after David Huezo's unfortunate need to pull that one back into the pits. And there's another change during the pit cycle there. 7/10 shorter in the pit stop, and the undercut has worked for Matt Keane. He's gotten out ahead of Liam Caplice, but, well, there's basically nothing between them, so expect Caplice to have a go here. He's certainly looking racy as they're coming up the hill through 5, 6, and 7 on this time round, David, but Keane going to cover that one off at the top of the hill here.
It's just not a braking zone. You can't get past there if it's not a braking zone. You've got to try to stay close through here, trying to open it up with wider turn in. But I think if anything, it's just been unsighted through the quick one, and then you get to these two slower sort of hairpins that fold over onto each other, and he's not close enough to speculate down the inside.
There we go, David Huezo back out on track, unfortunately now second last on the circuit and the last driver on the lead lap, but, well, you have a chance to get a couple of spots back here at the rear of the field. Front two, though, continue their fight. Still 4/10 between them, just under that now at the end of the straight. Bowler looks to the inside of turn one, but he's too far back. It's going to have to be some mind games for the time being, but it's on between these two. Tough, over halfway done on the clock. In fact, we tick past the 10 minutes remaining marker here, so these guys, you can see a Bowler very aggressive on the steering wheel, trying to get that front end turned in. The Mercedes, of course, a big fat 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 under that bonnet there, so does need a bit of help getting that car rotated in. But, well, once it gets its power down, it's certainly pulling along quite nicely. And even here up the hill, you can see in the slipstream, and it's certainly making most advantage of that benefit, the big fat BMW in front of it, providing a bit of a good old space to drive straight up into with less downforce and resistance.
They both are a little on the large side. That
they are, yes. Oh no, trouble for Brady Buchanan. After mistake in the pit lane, it looks like he's come undone at Kumo Bock turn 13. The replay, thanks to Virtue Racing School, will confirm for us here. So out of 11 and 12 there, and that all looks nice and tidy, but then up to turn 13, pushes it into the corner, pushing on the exit, and unfortunately pushing a bit too hard on the exit. Finds the gravel, and I think he just got the tyre bundles, but even so, that front end will be hurting all the same. He has continued on here as we return to live pictures, David.
Leads on.
He's going to be a while. Let's get back to that lead fight indeed, because Vel defending to the pit wall here. It's going to be around the outside of turn 1 if Bowler wants it back, but surely around the outside. The banking is going to be in Vel's favour. Can he shut the door? No, he can't. Hey, David, we're going to be side by side up to turn 2 here, and they're going to keep it going between these two, but the inside now for Matthew Bowler at turn 3. Back into the race lead. He's able to keep that one nice and tight and shut off the counter from Hayden Vel.
This view backwards is the last thing a tree sees before a beaver turns it into a dam. But for Vels, I mean, I think he didn't quite realise where the other car was there. If he'd committed a little more down the inside and tracked out, he was clear for a moment. He could have blocked that one off. He gave the space. Matthew Bowler sniffed out a good opportunity and a great move. Both of them could have fenced each other through turn 2 there and didn't.
Yeah, I think it's also a case of the BMW also being one of the cars that is a little bit more sensitive to the traction control system, is a little bit more aggressive, and likes to interrupt a bit more than others perhaps, and that certainly could have played his part as well. But at the same time, I think probably fair enough to say that that's a case of, well, making sure he doesn't do anything too drastic there on the exit of turn 1, and keeps the clean racing well and truly alive here, rather than risking it all or a bit of a clumsy mistake potentially on the exit of the turn. And well, look at that there. Now had half a lap of clean air, has Matt Bowler, and already gap up to 0.6 of a second. He will weave down the front stretch here, and Vel will follow, but looks like that Merc, now that it's got itself ahead, might just be the stronger car once again here tonight, as we'll now tune into our next battle on track. It's once again Matthew Keane and Liam Caplice, the two Mercs fighting once again after their pit stop here, and Caplice still not found a way back through on Keane after trying for the overcut here.
Yeah, I don't know if Keane's going to have to save a lot of fuel, but Caplice, went long, was obviously saving fuel early and has still taken more on board. He's looking around the outside. We know this move can maybe work.
Space given between the two of them there, and once again around the outside of Tarzan Bocht. You wouldn't think it might work, but having to make sure you respect the space on the outside that needs to be given, and Caplice is the next man to make it work, as they actually come across that traffic in the form of Ray Harrison there in the 24 Porsche, but Ray able to get himself out of the way there on the left side of track, and these two can keep at it. Now, fuel should be okay for Keane. He did go 7 laps with the majority of the field. The one man who might be in trouble here is Simon Mazzomo, who's actually had a moment here on track, and we're going to pick it up on the replay thanks to Virtual Racing School. Too wide at the top of turn 7 and out into the gravel at Schleivach. He will lose his spot to Jeffrey Wang that he had hang on to before the pit cycle, David, and he extended his margin quite handsomely thanks to taking about 4 seconds less fuel, or at least being stopped for 4 seconds less time in the pits. That Porsche being quite the fuel saver, it seems, out here tonight.
Yeah, indeed, we'll see. I mean, this has happened before, that the Porsche has been the car to have for fuel saving for long stints, for short pit stops, so we'll see what Mazzomo can do. But yeah, he does really, really stand out in the top 10. Everyone else, 12, 13 second pit stops. It's Mazzomo on 9.2.
And someone down onto the pit lane, unfortunately, Andrew Proctor from the back of the field there in the 380 BMW is the man down on the lane. And see here, any clue as to what it is? Unfortunately not, so something going on there. Well, we'll continue watching the action on track, because here's the next pack or pair of cars fighting for position, David. It's Jordan Ferguson ahead there in the number 21 Audi, who's currently one of the few, well, top 3 are not unchanged, but he's the only other driver who's yet to move from his starting spot. But Angus Kelly here up 2. Would like to make that +3, I would dare think, as they come through Hugenholtz Bocht here on lap number 13 of this race. But Caplice, meanwhile, top of the hill at turn 7. He's gone off in the gravel and gives the spot away to Matt Keane. Unfortunately, just coming unstuck, I'm pretty sure there. Unforced error at the top of the hill through turn 6. Actually got himself in the grass as he went to get the brakes. Not much, but just enough.
So we're going to see the opposite side of the road from the Buchanan bump. This is just too far to the left, and as you say, tags a little bit of that grass, doesn't get it slowed down as he turns into the corner.
And he drops back into open air in 7th place. He now has Jeremy Blackman behind him to the tune of 2.6 seconds and Matt Keane another 4 seconds up the road. So, well, unless he has another mistake there, that should be a fairly quiet 7th place finish for him. As we continue to look at Blackman and Ferguson, gap between them still looking to be about, Ferguson and Kelly, my apologies. 1 second between them here as they come onto the front stretch. Leaders across the line already, so we should get 3 laps to go here in Pass 2, make it a 16-lap affair for this sprint, well, this race here in Pass 2. And, well, Boa now completely unchallenged. Hayden Veld has got nothing in response. The gap's up towards 2 seconds now in the closing stages here.
In fact, Sebastian Flock is catching him a little bit. It was a second on the last lap for Veld. And he's a little off the line, I'd expect, on the way through here as well.
That is very true indeed. Gap down to
sorry.
And there's a lap car.
Yeah.
Might be getting in the way there. That will make for some different calculations. But yes, it's a good point to make, though. A whole second lost last lap looks to be very out of the ordinary for... actually, no, that's not true at all. Look at that there on lap 11 as well. A 35.7 for Sebastian Flock. He's been keeping quite consistent pace. A little bit of drop-off there, but nothing of the sort that Hayden Veld has to worry about as Flock trying to keep his foot in it. It's Reece Ashmore indeed on the outside of the 918 Ferrari trying to keep on racing there and getting a bit tripped up through the turn. Unfortunately, David Hueso has opted to not finish this race. He will end up in at least 22nd, maybe 23rd as we check in with Liam Caplice. Once again, David was running 7th, but, well, this could be something here happening down at Master Bock, perhaps, turn 8. Oh. Yep. Pushing a bit too hard, trying to maybe catch Matt Keane, and he doesn't get it pulled up at time at all, and stays in the dirt at Renault Bocht. Now, that brings Blackman right into the fight, and there we go. Oh, 1 lap too short. Simon Mazzomo was not able to account for where the race leaders are on the circuit and has underfueled that. In fact, that actually might be 2 laps underfueled here, unfortunately for him. He puts in nearly 5 seconds of fuel, and that now brings him back in line with what the rest of the field has done when it comes to fuel in this race. On board now.
I heard it was not the first time, so Simon Mazzomo has come up short.
Well, he can... he'll have to confirm or deny that one later on to you privately, perhaps, as we're checking out Patrick Panton and Hayden Jackson going at it out of turn 1. On board here with Jackson into turn 2. He actually gets up the inside of Panton. And that time, one rare case, it seems, of the man on the inside of turn 1 getting the job done as he blinked out of existence for good measure, just as we're talking him up there for a job well done, David. But back to your race leader, and his gap is actually still hovering inside 2 seconds. It's down to 1.7, but he takes the white flag from Barney here to start the final lap of our race, Pass 2 race at Zandvoort. And, well, he's got the buffer behind. He has more fuel. He took more fuel on at the pit stop. This should be his race to lose here.
Yeah, you'd think so. In fact, one of the longest stops up front for Bowler, and it almost cost him, had to work his way back to that lead, but now it should be of absolutely no concern. There might be some others around thinking that the race might have gone a lap shorter than it did. There'd be no concern on the fuel for Bowler.
Yes, well, let's have a look here at now a 3-way fight forming here. Hayden Jackson just ahead of Patrick Panton, who we're focusing on here, but in behind the 2 of them, it's Shane Newens, as that's a very bad run out of turns 11 and 12 for Panton. Newens trying to find the way through, but it's all about the setup at the final turn. He goes into the gravel, actually, pushing that hard, but looks to have kept that one steady enough for the final turn. They all take the white flag here as they come down the front stretch, but they're all spaced out again here, David, so it's going to have to be one heck of a send to wrap that one up here. Gap down to 1.3 at the front of the field here as they come into the chicane hairpin thing of sorts. That's Hans Ensbocht.
Chicane pin.
Chicane pin, that's a good idea. We'll just combine the words. Fair enough. But through Kumo Bocht, Matt Bowler will come and he'll get through Ari
Luyendijk.
Ari Luyendijk. Well, I think we got that one there then. Okay, but down the front stretch comes Matthew Bowler. That's another win to his name here in Pass 2 for the season. He will extend his championship lead over his competitor. Sebastian Flock with a third place finish. That should be enough to leapfrog up into second place in the standings, as the next man across the line will be Jeffrey Wang in fourth place. And the first mid-engine car to take position in this race is, well, we'll keep an eye on this mid-pack fight here, because now it's between Panton and Newens, it seems. Look at the different lines here through turn 10. Panton prioritising the run off of the corner with a straighter exit versus Newens trying to cut down the distances. That's a slow car of fuel. Hayden Jackson, another man perhaps out of fuel. Yep, Jackson's limping to the home. He does not have the fuel to get home here.
Oh dear, oh dear. That's a few drivers we've seen just limping on the fuel at the end. Almost a photo finish here. Kelly holds off Mizomo. No, Mizomo just managed to sneak one spot back from Angus Kelly after the late stop.
Yeah, a very nice run on the outside, as Newens brings it home in behind Patrick Panton, unable to finish that one there. And, well, that is most of the field across the line. Next one will be Jack Anderson. We're checking in here with, that will be Stuart Brown in the 981 Ferrari, trying to chase down Paul Longworth, but they will come across the line as they were there at the end of that lap there. So now can turn to our results for Pass 2 here. And once again, Matthew Bollett takes the race win with a 1.2 second gap to Hayden Veld. Sebastian Flock there, not able to stay pace with them. He'll have to settle for P3 at 6.3 back tonight, but then a comfy margin to Jeffrey Wang, who, after pressuring Simon Zomo quite nicely earlier on, able to, put in enough fuel at the pit stop is what it mostly came down to, it seemed, versus Mizomo's strategy play. But, well, unfortunately, that did not work out for the 551 machine. Fifth place, therefore, goes to Matthew Keane, able to get some unforced errors out of Liam Caplice, who settles for P6 tonight. Jamie Blackman there in 7th, able to hold off Jordan Ferguson there in 8th. And then Simon Zomo able to just pip Angus Kelly at the line for 9th and 10th, respectively.
Further through the field, got Patrick Panton, Shane Newens. We saw them battle towards the end, and there's just 5 tenths to separate them. Then a flurry of cars with Jack Anderson, Paul Longworth, Stuart Brown, a few of those names that we saw go rally crossing in the final sector, and Aaron Maguire and Brady Buchanan. Maguire, despite that damage just one time through the pit lane, and the long stop for Buchanan as well as his off-road adventure sees him be the last car on the lead lap. Then Hayden Jackson, Reese Ashmore, Andrew Proctor, a couple drivers that we saw do very, very well to make sure they didn't tangle themselves amongst the leaders.
And then your last couple of drivers tonight, Ray Harrison, unfortunately, 3 laps short of the leaders there. Matt Tesariro not making it to the end, along with David Hueso, and Matt Hardigan not taking the race start here in Pass 2 to round out your 24 drivers that were in the server here for this first race that we're covering tonight. We'll take a short break here from SimSpeed TV and get ready to cover the main action from the Pro-Am, but first a message from our partners here at SimSpeed. Welcome back to coverage of the simrigs.com Oz Pro Am Sim Series Season number 7, round number 6, as we head to Circuit Park Zandvoort tonight. It's time for the Pro Am. If you're joining us after past 2, or otherwise, if you're joining us live now to catch the Pro Am races, thank you for being with us here tonight live, or if you're joining us on YouTube afterwards, thanks to the video on demand. By the way, we'll get straight to it because the cars are on their formation lap. Here is your grid for your first race of 2 tonight. Sprint round means, of course, 10-minute opening race, followed by the 40-minute feature. And Ross Rizzo got the pole position tonight in qualifying ahead of Danny Davidson. So Audi, Lamborghini front row there, a little bit different to what we saw in past 2, but we can talk about that one a little bit later because, of course, there is the BOP to take into account here in the Pro-Am. Locke capable to start this race out of P3. He's got Christopher Hen alongside him tonight. It's actually quite an impressive return to form for Chris in that number 60 Lamborghini. P5 side is Luke Fitt, the first of our AM cars, all the way up here at the pointy end of the field tonight. He's got Dale Carpenter alongside him, though, to make it 2 AMs in the top 6. Kobe Williams will start at a 7th place tonight. He's got Andre Heimgartner alongside him in 8th place. Joshua Fitt and Jeff Connell round out the top 10. It's Jordan Peter, and the 3rd placed AM driver is Chu Kang back in 12th place.
Yeah, then Wayne Hewitt, Brandon Levin, Dylan O'Shea, another well-qualifying AM with Phil Orty, Nick Botchwell and Richard Brookfield in that division through row 8 and row 9. A great diversity of cars here with balance of performance in effect. We've got Daniel Webster, Nick Wood, Ben Jeffrey, Matthew Johnson, Aaron DeLuca and Timothy Orty as the cars make their way towards the chicane pin.
All right, then Derek Orty there, starting his race in 25th. He's got Sam Lehman alongside for 26th. Graham Smith, 27th. Daniel Cheney, 28th. Sean Lacey, Adam Jepson, 29th. And Sean Lacey, P30. Apologies. Hilton Booth, 31st. Hamish Monroe alongside him for 32nd. Ben Pollock in 33rd with Simon Cox alongside for 34th. Rob Hill in 35th. Simon Dwyer in 36th. And Adam Funslow not circulating with the field tonight. So 36 cars are going to take the green flag here, separated by about 3 seconds in qualifying. And here is your AusPass balance of performance. Of course, BMW performing quite strongly at Sandown, thanks to the existing BOP to the Mercedes. So down 1% power for the BMW. Audi back to full power. Mercedes taking the biggest hit after such an opening start to the season, down to 96.5%. But we'll talk about that later. Every other car, 100%. We wait for the green flag, and they take it now from Barney. AusPass is underway with the Pro-Am. 10 minutes on the board.
Much cooler track than we saw earlier. Should be grippier conditions, and it is a big field steaming down towards turn 1 and 2, where we know things narrow up.
36 cars. There we go. 3 wide into 1. Unfortunately, causes trouble for several drivers. I think I see it's Daniel Webster and Chu Kang in the main 2 around, but there go 3rd car around. Phoenix Smokers entry. Phil Orty goes around on the exit of turn 1, I think trying to stay out of the mess, but unfortunately has become part of the mess, tragically, as the leaders single file their way out of turn number 3 here, and they get themselves sorted out as they make their way up the hill for the first time here. Rizzo leads Davidson, leads Capel, top 3 unchanged. In fact, make that your top 9, I believe, are currently unchanged from where they started this race. Apologies, but yes, Christopher Hen actually has had a bit of a rough start there. Started in P4, he's down to P7 already. And Kobe Williams able to basically take his spot, but it looks like things have done basically a direct swap there, despite starting several positions apart. As look at this now, 2 wide into turn number 10 here. Now Andre Heimgartner on board with here. He's got Joshua Fitt just behind him. He gets that job done on the way through the corner there as they pile on down to turns 11 and 12 here for the first time. Get those cars pulled up here and then keep nice and tight through turn 12 to wrap around and power out down onto this short stretch before we hit up the final 2 turns here to end lap 1.
Yeah, now the section that claimed a lot of victims in past 2, you saw a couple of tracks, witness marks through the gravel, some weaving down the pit straight, your best overtaking opportunity, your biggest braking zone in towards turn number 1.
It's here, Dale Carpenter trying to fend off Christopher Hen, who's trying to worry about Andre Heimgartner in behind him as well. And looks like they're going to be, as they were for now, Hen able to keep a nice steady line out of turn 1 that time by, but it looks to be starting to potentially become a cork in the bottle. Was unfortunately on my end a couple of issues for Heimgartner's connection to the server, so hopefully that's not going to cause too many dramas for the drivers around him if they're seeing that as well. As up and over the crest we come to Hunsrug and Rob Slottermeckerbocht and down into Schleibach. Keeping the single file train alive, and well as N's eyes trying to stick forward on that car of Dale Carpenter ahead of him, who's still at second place. Andrew's been behind Jeff Connell. Absolute send on a, pardon me, it's going to be Dylan O'Shea who's trying to get by us. Oh no, contact between the two of them into turn 10. O'Shea is around, well, pardon me, Connell's around bumping off of O'Shea's car there, and well, that sends Connell back down into 16th place. Let's go check a look at that one there on the replay, thanks to Virtual Racing School here, David.
This is one of the widest parts of the track is the braking zone and the turn-in, so he sent it in there, got out a little bit wide, and then tries to hold O'Shea tight, and then both of them bump right before the turn-in. The car on the outside, Jeff Connell fares worse as he skates across some of the grass and the dirt.
Yeah, we'll see what the stewards say about that one. It's all post-race here, so nothing will be done about it during the session. But to be honest, on those kind of angles there, at least that TV angle makes it look like it's a bit of a rough move there from O'Shea. Certainly has the right to try and force the car on the outside out wide, but there wasn't all that much track width there on the right side left for Connell to move into, especially as you're trying to set up for a left-hand turn. But we'll worry about those things later, and I'll keep my eyes on the Discord after the races and once the reviews all come into see if anything comes of that. But back to live pictures, because we're almost halfway through this race, and you can see here now, Christopher Henn has been able to shake Andre Heimgartner a bit here, so he's most certainly got his eyes forward on trying to get past that AM car of Dale Carpenter here.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting little battle for Luke Fitt and Dale Carpenter, 5th and 6th overall, but sort of battling for that win in their AM division. They are well and truly mixed up with some of the best drivers at the pointy end of this big grid.
They are indeed. So you can see our AM drivers here tonight, and it's been a couple of them, depending on the round in question, making their way forward. Main figures like Matthew Johnson, Matt Catalone, Dylan O'Shea, and now we can add Dale Carpenter and Fit to that list of AM drivers, certainly punching above the class weight, it would seem, on a general scale of things, as we continue to keep our eyes on Christopher Henn and see what he can do here through the last turn. Nice and flat in these GT3 cars, and high downforce setups as provided by the series tonight means that that's a nice easy run there, and a good run off the final turn indeed for Henn, but he's not close enough for the run to turn one. He can at least try and keep a bit of pressure on here through the corner, but looks like it'll be as they were on the exit for Henn, just that little bit closer this time it seems, David, but a little compromise through turn 2 that doesn't quite help him with the run there through that part of the track perhaps.
Key to remember in this 10-minute race is that then sets the grid for the 40-minute feature coming up later, with the caveat of a top 10 invert. So for someone like Jeff Connell, for example, who maybe fancied himself inside of the top 10, or just inside of the top 10 somewhere, be back here in 16th, having started in 10th is a pretty bitter pill to swallow in a short race like this, that he could have been by holding on to 10th, pole sitter for the feature. He's now going to start potentially 16th, 15th or 14th if he can have his way in the next couple of laps though.
That is very true indeed. So see here now on board with Christopher Henn. You can see Luke Fitched up the road in front of Carpenter here, and even then the top 4, our pro drivers of Rizzo, Davidson, Capel and Cody Williams are not that much further up the road, so they are keeping nice and close in touch here. Of course, Christopher Henn, he wants to get on past these guys, because the way the AusPass point system works here, the classes are scored independent of each other when it comes to the championship. There is an overall calculation that is more for checking that drivers are in the right driver classes. This is a lot closer for Christopher Henn. Look at him come here with the slipstream and 100% engine power. Small detune this week for the BMW after its success at Sandown. Up the inside goes Henn, and he gets in front and clears Carpenter before they get to the mid-corner at the apex at turn 1. And job done there for the number 60. It's taken him a couple of laps, David, but now has a chance to get after Luke Fitt. There's a little bit of smoke, well, a little bit of grass up ahead there, but all calm and well, as that's Jeff Connell. He's scything his way past Aaron DeLuca there through turn 2 to try and recover a little bit of something here in the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, he was shaping up for it last time we looked at him, and I thought, well, he might get that, and he might still get another. There was 4 minutes left in the race then. There's less than 3 now and only a couple laps. The top 10 a little too far away, and that's where you want to be with the grid format, with the way it progresses into the next race. Inside of the top 10, good. Just outside looking in, not so great, but he's still going to pick off one more spot.
Into position number 14 there. So 2 dispatched this lap as they come through turn 10 here. Next man on the road for Jeff Connell is going to be Ben Jeffrey in the 150 AM entry, or AM class BMW there. We check in with here on screen now as they come through turns 11 and 12. 5 laps, well, almost complete here in the first race for AusPass. 2 minutes 10 on the board. We should get ourselves 7 laps for this opener, which we did see was quite comfortable, or quite possible for most of the drivers and most of the cars here. This is the man in 10th place, in the thick of it all, Jordan Peter, number 49 BMW Pro Class, trying to pressure, and is Joshua Fit ahead of him in the 59. Simrix.com DPR has contact between the two. O'Shea's going to go on through, and it promotes Wayne Hewitt to P10, and Jeff Connell now back into 12th place, so more spots gained. And there's drama at turn 1 in the closing stages of the race here, going to trip up a couple of our Pro Class drivers here in this first one tonight.
Right as you said it, the 2 of them touch on the way in. There's a bit more drama at the Hugenholz-Bocht. Derek Auty, I think it was, in the McLaren. Not too many McLarens here. He might have been a little sideways there.
Here on the replay, thanks to Virtual Racing School. So comes through turn 2, and that's a little wide in the grass, and unfortunately breaking on the grass. Oh dear, takes 2 Lamborghinis with him. Brandon Levin in the 99 machine. SC Designs, that familiar looking paint job there for him. Unfortunately, gets tripped up, and I believe it was Richard Brookfield, the number 33 AM entry, was the other car, unfortunately entangled in all of that. Well, your race leader is now out to a 1.8 second gap, and looks like he's not going to be challenged here to the end of this one. Going to take the white flag at the end of the next lap here. So 7-lap affair in the Pro-Am once again for the opening race here. Well, actually similar to the fuel range we saw, I should say, in past 2. So all these cars should be good to the end. There was a couple of drivers who came in into 6 laps, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. As on board now with Wayne Hewitt, it might have the least power of every car here in the series at the moment, David, but down at the inside of Dylan O'Shea, and Wayne Hewitt makes that look pretty trivial there for the Mercedes in the slipstream.
Yeah, when you're down on the power, you've got to be good through the corners, and you've got to be good on the brakes as well. Jeff Connell, I said the top 10 was too far away from his grip, but I didn't know exactly what Oz Pro-Am Sim Series had in store. It's still very much a possibility looking at a battle in front of him. Remember, 10th place finisher in this race goes to the pole position of the next.
Yep, so Dylan O'Shea, the man in the hot seat right now, and he'd like nothing more than to stick with Wayne Hewitt here, and every little bit of slipstream and straight line advantage is a bit of a bonus that keeps Jeff Connell just that little bit further away. But the gap is down from 6/10 to 3 as they come into turn number 9 here on the final lap as opening race, and that is some seriously solid sideways action there from Connell through the right hand there at turn 9. He's putting everything down to the ground where he can, and the traction control is saying you can have a bit, but then you're going to have some slip, and I think, unfortunately for Connell, that might just stall out his run here for a top 10 finishing result. We'll try and get past O'Shea. He tried that once already this race and unfortunately came unstuck when he attempted that. But back to the front of the field for a moment, because Ross Rizzo starts from the pole and he comes across the line uncontested. Your top 3 will finish as they were. Kobe Williams moves himself up from 7th to 4th there in the first race there, and 5, 6, 7, 8 quickly across the line there in succession. Hewitt, O'Shea and Jeff Connell come across as they were. So indeed, the number 19 of O'Shea will be the man on the pole for the feature races. One of our couple remaining battle groups here, the fight for 21st here. And look at them here in a line, just gaggle of cars spaced not that far out as they come across the line to end their first race here tonight, David.
Well, they're not going to be starting next to each other on the grid, even though they finished next to each other in the race 10th and 11th. I think Dylan O'Shea and Jeff Connell had something to say to each other after that race.
Yes, I did hear something, but didn't quite pay attention to it.
Oh,
so,
well, you didn't need to hear it. You just needed to see what happened after the checkered flag.
Oh, that would explain what I did catch a little bit of. So, well, we'll see if... yes, I've just gone and checked back and seen what that was. So that was...
Didn't need to hear the words, needed to see the body language.
Yes, the language quite indeed is a way to put that. We'll get through the results, and we're being told the director will have a quick look at that one there and perhaps show it to you all on broadcast. But confirming your results here from the first race of the Pro-Am tonight, Ross Rizzo 1.85 seconds clear at the front of the field over Danny Davidson, who finally, after several weeks of what seems like misfortune for him, gets a podium result here tonight in the 788 machine. Lachlan Capel, the first of our BMWs tonight, will come home there in third place, having started there, so good job on him. Kobe Williams up 3 spots, gets himself to 4th place, and it's Luke Fitt, our leading AM class driver, to bring it home 5th outright tonight, with Christopher Henn behind him there in 6th, able to drop Dale Carpenter a bit there at the end for 7th outright. Andre Heimgartner close but not quite, he stays in 8th place there at the end. Wayne Hewitt slips on by there to 9th ahead of Dylan O'Shea, crucially though, with that 10th place finish and the pole for the feature race here.
Yeah, big grid means a big finishing order, and they were just all in a line all the way through. Battles start to finish in that sprint with a grid this size. Jeff Connell, 11th, just on the outside looking in at that top 10 invert. Ben Jeffrey, Matthew Johnson, Aaron DeLuca, Nick Bottrell, Nick Wood, Brandon Levin, Daniel Cheney, Richard Brookfield, and Graham Smith. Should be noted then, Ben Jeffrey, 3rd in that AM class there. A good result for him.
21st place tonight. We go to Timothy Audi there, up a couple of spots in that race. Same for Sam Lehman, up 4 spots to 22nd. Unfortunately, Jordan Peter tumbles down the order from 11th to 23rd in that race. So a bit of an outlier there amongst these drivers here, such as Simon Cox up 10 spots to 24th. Phil Audi, though, joins Jordan in a similar trip down the results to 25th there, unfortunately. Hilton Booth up five spots to 26th. Daniel Webster, unfortunately, one of the lap 1, turn 1 victims, wraps that one up there in 27th. They had Ben Pollock in 28th. Rob Hill, 29th. Joshua Fitt coming unstuck there in the mid-race in 30th place with the contact at turn 1 as well. Chu Kang there in 31st leads Adam Jepson, Derek Audi across the line. And there's absolutely nothing between those two on the results. Geez, 7 1,000ths of a second, keeping nice and spicy there over 32nd place. Hamish Munro in 33rd, came home there ahead of Simon Dwyer for 34th. And then we had Sean Lacey, the last driver to start the race and finish in 36th, unfortunately 3 laps short, and also a disconnect from the server, it would seem. So, replay thanks to Virtual Race School. So, this is what we were talking about when it comes to post-race drama here. So,
remember these two tangled early on, and it was Connell that dropped a couple positions. They take the checkered flag.
So O'Shea gets the P10, and Jeff Connell says, "This is how much I think of your move earlier on." As she then goes and finds Dane Davidson, who parked it up in the gravel, minding his own business there at the end of that first race. So
just says, go on, enjoy pole position.
Yes. So now a chance to turn our attention to the championship standings here in the Pro-Am after round number 5 at Sandown last week. The first class, of course, our AM category tonight. And well, look at that there. Graham Smith almost starting to walk away with the series lead, 149 points advantage to his name. Sam Lehman in 3rd place is, well, I should say it's Matt Andrews there in 2nd. And unfortunately, Matt Andrews not present this evening, so he's not able to try and cut into that gap. Graham Smith loses out to a couple of guys there who are probably in that middle part of the pack, but crucially P3 for Sam Lehman. He will most likely end up in 2nd by the end of racing action tonight if he can get a good result in the feature. Daniel Cheney next in line there in 4th place, with Dylan O'Shea 28 points further behind in 5th, and Matthew Cardellone only another 4 points back for P6 in class. And Aaron Raccanello and Ben Jeffrey pretty close there in 7th and 8th. And then 9th and 10th were pretty close as well. Unfortunately, I've been beaten to the buzzer as we have a look here at the Pro Championship standings, David, after round 5 as well for them.
Yeah, take a hint, Chief. Kobe Williams up front there, just over 100 points clear of Jeff Connell, who, well, he's going to have a little bit of an uphill battle in this coming race. Lachlan Capel, then third, Joshua Fitt, Adam Funslow, Ross Rizzo off to a great start, both in qualifying and the race pace here. He finds himself pretty equidistant between Adam Funslow and Brandon Levin. Then it's Alex Bird, Dennis Gutarik, and Wayne Hewitt who complete the top 10. Now, I did not see all of those names here tonight.
That's correct. Unfortunately, missing Adam Funslow from the racing action so far this evening, and also missing Alex Bird and Dennis Gutarik. So those are three drivers who will potentially slip backwards in those standings a bit. Practice is going to come to an end very shortly, but this is the end result from that first race, in that what ended up being a drag run between Adam Jepson on the right of screen, finishing just ahead of Derek Audie on the left of screen. And, 7/1000ths of a second. There is not much more that can come. Not much more between those two. Or less, I should say, that could be between those two drivers. So the field takes the grid once more here. And we get ready to do it all over again, but this time for 40 minutes on the clock. Of course, that inverted top 10 sees Dylan O'Shea to the top of the order, with Wayne Hewitt on his outside to start this race off. It's going to be Andre Heimgartner out of third place, with Dale Carpenter alongside in fourth. So we're going to have ourselves a couple of AMs in this top 10 to start this one tonight. Christopher Henn will start out at P5 with Luke Fitt alongside him for P6. Kobe Williams and Lachlan Capel will start 7th and 8th. Danny Davidson and Ross Rizzo starting 9th and 10th. And then your results from race 1 as they were: Jeff Connell and Ben Jeffrey to round out our first 6 rows here, David.
Yeah, indeed. Matthew Johnson in Mercedes, Aaron DeLuca in the Ferrari, Nick Bottrell in the Audi, Nick Wood in the BMW, Brandon Levin in the Lamborghini, Daniel Cheney, boring second Mercedes in this particular bracket here, but I'm sure he'll be happy to be starting out of there. We've got Richard Brookfield, Graham Smith. You saw your championship leader there handsomely in the AM division. Tim Orty, Sam Lehman, Jordan Peter, and Simon Cox. That's half the grid.
And some there. In fact, actually, it's more like 2/3 to be precise. If we're going to nitpick that one there, but
Sure it is.
rounding things out here, Phil Audie and Hilton Booth out of row number 13 have Daniel Webster and Ben Pollock behind them on the 14th row. Rob Hill and Joshua Fitt round out your top 30 tonight. And then Chu Kang, Adam Jepson, Derek Audie, Hamish Munro, Simon Dwyer, and Sean Lacey. Now, 36 cars that we expect to take the grid, but unfortunately, Sean Lacey not out there at the moment, so it looks like we are down to 35 for this race, the feature race here tonight. So we know these cars can do 7 laps on the opening fuel as part of the fixed setup provided, and now the question will be, how much further can they go than our drivers did in Pass 2, which they were able to get to 16 laps of racing total without too much fuss. So probably see these guys get to at least 16, 17, maybe even lap 18 before we pit, and then we'll see how many laps we get on the board here tonight. Although lapping in the 133s, 134s, David, I could probably run some rough calculations right here while we wait for the grid, and we should be looking at 26 laps is the magic number around here tonight. So with that all said and done, they will need to stop twice for fuel, as they do in this season, but it won't be that long of a second stop as always. You might even want to try and split the strategy down the middle here tonight and spread the fuel out. So other thing to note, of course, the rolling balance of performance with the engine power adjustments here in AusPass, which affects the Pro-Am racing here tonight, hence why the Mercedes don't look quite as strong as they did in Pass 2. Here's how things stand after round 5, David. Of course, crucially there, the Mercedes, after such a dominant start to the season in the hands of drivers like Jeff Connell in particular, not much left when it comes to engine power reduction, already at 96.5%. Minimum possible is 95%. So if Merc drivers keep their results up soon, it will be at the absolute minimum and can go no lower. BMW drivers such as Kobe Williams, Lachlan Capel, bringing that car home strong at Sandown. I mean, it took a 1% hit there, well, to try and bring it back in line, but still looking strong in the hands of Capel and Williams this week. But, well, the mid-engine cars like your Audis, your Lamborghinis in the hands of drivers like Rizzo and Davidson, David, certainly coming to the fore as they're back up to 100% engine power, or currently will still have been at 100% power for some time this season.
Rizzo looked pretty untouchable in that first race, didn't he? And I've just been, mulling over the strategy, and I think what I'd prefer is go long in that first stint, which is going to be a pretty short, 12-minute run anyway, and then fuel it, see where you come out in the traffic and whether you run a really long middle stint and then a short final stint, or bring that final pit stop a little earlier. Will depend what kind of traffic you find yourself in.
Yeah, I think 7 laps minimum in the opening stint is a no-brainer here. It's just going to be down to how you choose to play the rest of the race tonight here, with it'll be about 30 minutes or just under 30 minutes and change on the clock once you're back out of the lane. So the field makes their way around the final turn. Get the formation nice and tight here for the race start, and looks like Wayne Hewitt might want to go and try and catch up to get the formation sorted so that we can get this field tightened up. Green flag's going to fly here from Barney, and the feature race is underway here for past 40 minutes ago, and look at them now going 3-4 wide down into turn 1 already. Christopher Hen trying to go up the middle of Heimgartner, and that is Dale Carpenter. He backs out and he goes 3 wide now between Luke Fitt on his outside and Kobe Williams up the inside. He's going to make moves here at that turn 1.
Graham Smith into the Armco, your AM division leader, before they even got to turn 1. So 3 wide, 4 wide. He got pinched somewhere and spun towards the Armco. And you can see a big
up on the exit of turn 2. There. Oh my word. We're just trying to keep our eyes on things. It's caught Smith out as well again. But look at this. No safety cars in this series, but these drivers have to sort themselves out. It's taken at least 10, if not 15 drivers out of contention of this race. Several opting to tow straight away. Their racing is done tonight.
I told you the Armco is close in that section. The track almost blocked, and it all starts here.
Oh, Ben Jeffrey, Brandon Levin come together, and Jeffrey's car rolls across the track, and Matt, instant track blocker. Unfortunately, I feel like that one's a hit for the iRacing, not top 10 perhaps this week, as Graham Smith trying to get his car back to the pits is entangled with Ben Jeffrey once again up the hill through turns 5 and 6. Your leaders are coming down into 11 and 12 already, but there are lots of drivers trying to get home here with variously damaged cars. Your leaders, though, you can see here making their way through that 11-12 chicane pin complex. Quote David Haynes, 2022.
Yeah, there we go. I've gone and given one of the corners a name as indecipherable as the Dutch names that the rest have. Wow, a lot of cars involved in that very, very early. Now, that was sort of somewhere in the middle of the field, so your top half unscathed, but from about 20th on back, a lot of wounded cars, a lot of cars that have lost a lot of time. Dylan O'Shea still holding on to that race lead, being given the inverted pole, and a bit of chaos has gone off behind him.
Yeah, didn't quite help there that out of the final couple of turns, he did have a bit of an advantage over Wayne Hewitt, who was leading that outside lane. I think that helped with a bit of a single filing the field out here. And again, after a bit of action at the start of the race, things calmed down pretty quick and right at the front.
Scaring me.
The Mr. Bean helmet once again on board with the 994 of Kobe Williams, and
that's not any better, Jay.
Yeah, looking at it directly certainly doesn't help things in my mind either.
It's like the sun. I know it's there, but I don't want to stare at it.
And so we're informed that 5 drivers in trouble with mechanical black flags as Jordan Peters spun in turn 9, I think all by himself, unfortunately, there in Jordan's car number 49 there, and now down in 22nd place. But, I said the Mercs surely struggling this week, but we have Mercs 2nd, 3rd, and 7th, and 9th. So they're still well represented inside the top 10. They make up almost half of it, David. The only other car that comes close is the BMW M4 GT3, which actually makes up almost the other half of the top 10. The remaining 2 spots, Christopher Hen and Dane Davidson in Lamborghini Huracans here at this stage. As we look at this here, single file train down the front stretch for the most part. But Davidson going up the inside of Matthew Johnson for P9 at turn 1. He's going to get that job done, and look who's coming through. Ross Rizzo wants in on this fight too, as Johnson has to keep the door open for that 788 machine, but he's able to get back across in time before Rizzo can make his way up the inside for turn 2.
Dying for a Rizzo fuel-saving onboard, finds himself in the pack here, knew that's what he was going to get when he took the victory in race number 1. Doesn't need to force his way through here, knowing there's still 2 stops to go. and him and his teammates, long-time strategy meisters, what will they pull out of the bag here?
Light bit of saving perhaps through turn 7 there, but keeping a foot in it for the most part, it feels like at this stage, and letting the revs stay up nice and high there. Top of third gear into turn 9, Renault Bocht. So I think not a huge amount of fuel save on the mind of Ross Rizzo at this point. Better in his opinion perhaps to keep things pressing on here and try and keep the time loss to your leading group fairly minimal. Speaking of your leading group, David, look at the gap that is currently between your top 2 on track. It was quite a bit bigger than that, and down now to 0.4 of a second at the end of lap 3 here.
Yeah, you're not going to find a free 1 second out on track anywhere in the top 16 here. All starting to compress a little bit as they find their rhythm, as the slipstream also does its thing. Whichever line Dylan O'Shea takes down the pit straight, everyone else follows. If he goes to weave a little bit, you watch the whole snake go along with him, like a Nokia game.
They will not let him go for obvious reasons indeed. So starting lap 4 here, through turns 1 and 2 they come, and they're keeping on the rear bumper of that BMW machine. But he's hanging on quite nicely, and certainly probably has the pace to be part of the pro class, but a couple of mishaps here and there along the way for O'Shea means he hangs on stays in that AM class division for the time being. As we check back here between a couple of our pro class drivers, Kobe Williams has got Christopher Hand looking quite racy here behind him, and behind the two of them is Jeff Connell, who's made up several spots off the start. He's up 4 spots into 7th, and apparently we're being told by Director Joe Kenny that basically all came on lap number 1 for that number 4 Mercedes.
Yeah, I want to see, let's wind back and have a look at Jeff Connell's race start. There was maybe a little bit of that confusion on the front row that saw the right-hand side get a better jump at it than the left-hand lane.
Looking for a gap, sending it down the gap in the pit, basically using the pit exit at turn 1 there was Connell. So there's 1 on Danny Davidson, 2 on Lachlan Capel, 3 on Luke Fitt, and there must have been a 4th in there somewhere on the outside of him to finish that one off, because I believe that is just about everyone else. You see Capel tried to go around the outside. It was Matthew Johnson. He must have somehow snuck through on in all of that there somewhere. Oh my goodness, Luke Fitt got absolutely turfed on the exit of turn 3 there.
And of course, remember that Connell started in the right-hand lane, who were kind of offset by about a whole position to the cars on the outside as well. So he might have picked up one right as we saw the green flag, because the right-hand lane was already just a car length further ahead than the left column.
That is very true indeed. Unfortunately, more drivers with mechanical black flags. The 412 of Hilton Booth and the 225 of Nick Bottrell, both cars are currently circulating on track, so they will have to bring themselves back into the lane, but they are now well down in the mid-20s, and we'll see if they can get back out on track, but unsure of that one for now as we stay on board with 994 of Kobe Williams, who's looking to pressure Dale Carpenter and unseat that second AMS driver here out of 4th outright. As trouble for another AM driver, the 308 of Nick Wood, one of the drivers who early season had some great form there, unfortunately has come unstuck there from 13th place outright. He's dropped down into the mid-20s, so wide through the grass again. David, we saw in past 2 with Liam Caplice on the exit of turn 8. Master balked, and unfortunately for him, unlike Caplice, who went out wide through the gravel, Wood has spun inside and found the Armco before turn 9 there.
Pit entry tempting some from the lead group. Kobe Williams decides, I want out of this.
Ross Rizzo has followed him into the pit lane, so there we go. Some drivers opting for an alternate strategy here tonight. Going to fill up early, and any other drivers taking, it's Nick Bottrell coming into the lane. He does have damage repairs to take as well, but perhaps fill up now and play the alternate game. We'll see where those two in the form of Rizzo and Williams come out crucially, of course. 11.4 seconds and 10.9. And they come out in some reasonable clean air. And oh no, Rizzo's going to come out and actually get stuck in behind Graham Smith for a second here. So this is going to be important for Rizzo. How quickly can he clear Smith? And in fact, he's quite lucky. They think Smith a little bit loose in the exit of turn 1. Lets Rizzo go without any kind of a fight.
Already some laps down as well because he had an absolutely torrid opening lap. We missed the first time he caught the Armco, but we caught the 2 other times he was involved in the track blockage and trying to work his way around other damaged and unwieldy cars. Really, really torrid lap 1 for him.
It was indeed a good point to make about those there. So, the lead group now, do they come in after lap 6 or do they keep going all the way to lap 7? You would think going until you can go no further would make sense, but I guess we're going to see if the alternate strategy plays out here for Rizzo and Williams. They've got a bit of clean air between the two of them. No one in between the two, and then it's Derek Audie, the next man up the road. Oh, there we go, hip check between one of our BMWs. That would be Jordan Peter getting into the side of Simon Cox there through turn 12 and taking the spot and able to, basically just...
Got him sideways, then straightened him out. It's the racing equivalent of your mother saying, brought you into this world, I can take you out.
Perhaps indeed. Andre Heimgartner and Dale Carpenter down onto the lane at the end of lap 6, perhaps in response to our guys there from the back of the top 10. But most of your lead group carry on once again. They'll do at least 7 laps here on the opening tank of fuel. The question is now, can Heimgartner and Carpenter get out ahead of Rizzo and Williams? They're both rolling off the lane now. Williams will jump Heimgartner and Ross Rizzo will jump Dale Carpenter. A very slow stop there for the 111 machine on his inlet, given he was in 4th place. Heimgartner on the headlights to Kobe Williams, interestingly there at turn 1, but at least 2 up to speed for Williams and Rizzo, that is, versus Heimgartner. And not the traffic up ahead is still 1.8 seconds for Kobe Williams. He's still got some space here to work into on this. This is going to be the critical lap, of course. Surely your leaders down onto the lane at the end of this one here, I would think, David.
Yeah, they're the front row of the grid. Dylan O'Shea and Wayne Hewitt still going, still at front in 1st and 2nd. But the lap times right now from those other drivers that were behind them, 2 or 3 seconds behind them, can they undercut on the pace that O'Shea and Hewitt have been doing? So 35.4 and 35.3 for these guys on the last lap.
O'Shea putting everything and a bit of gravel on the line here as they both signal to come into the pits. They're going to be mostly followed, but Jeff Connell and Lachlan Capel are going for the 8-lap strategy here. We saw that was a risk in pass 2, and it actually followed through several cars going through. Matthew Johnson staying out. Also, Aaron DeLuca is going to stay out here as well. So, a couple of very interesting plays here.
I think the way the traffic was in this split, twice as many cars, you find yourself in the middle of that traffic. Go as hard as you like, you just can't burn as much fuel as when you're, in clean air. It's
a good point to make there. You're certainly not pushing necessarily, as here comes Dylan O'Shea off the lane. Does Kobe Williams beat him with the undercut? Yes, he does. He will take potentially the effective lead of this race. So that has been a monumental move there from Kobe Williams to go for the under fuel.
Connell and Rizzo side by side.
That's Heimgartner and Rizzo to be precise.
Oh,
actually,
it is.
We've got 2 all black Mercs out there on track. That's not going to help matters as Danny Davidson tries to get back up to speed here, and these guys here already out on track, fighting their way through. Of course, Rizzo and Williams owe us 2 extra laps of fuel compared to this pack of cars. They will be slower in the final pit stop, but it's paid off handsomely for Kobe. He goes from what was net P5 on the road to net P1 if the leading group don't have to save too much and can come out roughly with this group as well when they come in next time by.
No.
Oh, spin for Wayne Hewitt. Dale Carpenter's taking him around at turn 9 there, it seems. Bit of side-on-side contact between the 2 of those cars has unseated the car that was running 2nd for that opening stint. Very unfortunate as Connell and Capel down onto the lane, hit their marks, and no sign of a coughing engine for either of them yet, which is good to see as they're followed in by Johnson and DeLuca. Simon Cox, surely, yes, he'll be in. Nick Wood also coming in. Oh, Simon Cox has actually clattered the fence on pit entry. Not going to do that 164 any good. He'll have to take a fast repair perhaps to keep that one nice and clean, as Nick Wood also down onto the lane. So, Kobe Williams, where are you coming out in relation to the drivers who are pitted? Locking Capel's away and off the lane. It'll be close, but I think Williams will be through into P1. He's followed through by O'Shea in P2. And look at that there, Capel in behind Danny Davidson. So that is going to be P6, the 18 machine, but he now has a fuel advantage on on everyone here in this group. And critically, where is Jeff Connell? Out back in P9. The Mercedes a bit thirsty there, 13 seconds stopped in the box. Although, saying that, Capel was also 13 seconds stopped in the box, but 3 seconds quicker in the lane versus Jeff Connell.
I rate this for Dylan O'Shea. He's there in second. He took 13 seconds of fuel compared to 11 for Williams, 10.8 for Rizzo. He's in a very, very competitive place.
He is indeed. The question is, can he stand up to the pressure from these pro guys here who want to get on with their race? And certainly, in the case of Williams and Rizzo, their only way of winning this one here is they need to gap these guys here who went at least that 1 lap longer, and definitely want to gap guys like Capel, who I've got 2 laps on them here when it comes to... Actually, no, pardon me, it's 2 laps up for most of these guys here on Williams and Rizzo, and then 3 laps in Capel's case. That is going to be quite a reasonable amount of fuel saving, given these cars are burning around 2.7 litres. So you're talking in excess of 7, nearly 8 litres of fuel here. That will be at least 2 to 3 seconds stationary in the pit box, you would think.
Now we saw Rizzo get past Heimgartner with a good run off the final sector, a slipstream and a pass in towards turn 1. Is he shaping up for that again? I think he is. Down 2% on power is the BMW. Good run from the Audi, and Rizzo's going to have the look and the dive, looking for second place.
He's got a nose clear on the exit of 1, but not fully clear on O'Shea. O'Shea not able to contest, though, on the exit of the corner. So your guys who came in first slot themselves back into P1 and P2. Can they run away now from O'Shea there in third? He looked a little bit vulnerable to Wayne Hewitt in the Mercedes when he was behind him in the opening stint. And the BMW not looking like it's got the best low-speed traction once again, depending on who you are and how familiar you are with the car, David. As I said, BMW, one of the cars that definitely can have some pretty aggressive traction control intervention, a bit like the Ferrari 488, which means that it certainly can be a handful and really hurt you if you're a bit aggressive with the power. That's a bit deep from O'Shea, and look at the gap that Rizzo and Williams are starting to build. It's not much.
They smell blood in the water behind O'Shea as well now. I just saw Heimgartner thinking about diving down the inside of the next hairpin.
Well, we'll keep your eyes on it, because that there is second and third AM-Class Dale Carpenter and Matt Johnson there for a second. But here's Andre Heimgartner. He's had a couple of rough rounds as well while you've been away, David. And, well, I think he's looking for a bit of redemption returning to the series tonight. You can see here it's P4, but 1 and 2 slipping away from him here. And he certainly doesn't want to give up anything here. Meanwhile, your top 2, Rizzo and Williams, down the front stretch they go. Does Rizzo go for the lead? He does indeed. Up the inside of Williams. Williams nice and early on the brakes. He's not going to contest that. Their mission here is to work together and run away as a pair, as Heimgartner looking for the inside of O'Shea. Not quite there, though, at turn 1 this time by. Shows the nose, and he's threatening all kinds of moves here. But O'Shea able to hang on for another corner at least, make that 3.
Mercedes looks like a good car to be driving, but you just know it's tough to get by in a straight line. About 96.5% power for the Mercedes. I mean, you've got to do something else creative somewhere. You can't pass people like Ross Rizzo does and just, blast by them on the pit straight.
It's still looking pretty solid in the slipstream, especially if you can pick someone up who doesn't have the toe, and especially if they're a BMW like Dylan O'Shea. But never mind that. Up the inside at turn 9 goes Andre Heimgartner. We check in with a couple of cars, unfortunately, who have entangled in some mid-pack accidents. We'll check them out here on the virtual racing school replay. It looks like it's going to be Rob Hill here in the 1-2-3. Oh dear, goes straight to the grass off of turn 1. Oh no, he's going to collect the 308 of Nick Wood, who was minding his own business in behind there. And well, that is quite the shocking incident there off the corner. Meet mechanical black flags for a pair of them. Heimgartner gets the job done at turn 9, but a crisscross between the two of them at turn 10. We're going to stay on the replay here with these two because they go side by side out of that 10th corner here. Capel looking to the inside of Danny Davidson maybe, but no, job looks to be done for O'Shea. Davidson thinking about the inside, though, of O'Shea at the 11-12 chicane pin complex. So still a bit of a funny feeling in the mouth when saying those words. But back to live pitches, and Davidson and O'Shea together at turn 1. Somehow neither car goes into the gravel, but Capel through on the inside there will get up into P5 here. Wow, that could have been so much worse. And I was saying earlier, Davidson's been begging for a good break for once, and he got that in race 1 it seemed, but race 2 almost coming undone there, not even the halfway stage.
Yeah, the two of them tangled together, leaving skid marks all the way to the braking zone of turn number 1. Somehow didn't end in more tears, but one thing I did notice is Davison short-fueled it a little bit. He ran long like some of the others, but then took fuel as if he'd short-pitted.
That will be
Connell with a dive.
Yeah, up the inside of Christopher Hen there. He gets the job done at turn 9, looking to try and press on to try and minimize the deficit that his car is running at this stage. He did take similarly full tank of fuel compared to those around him, 13 seconds stationary, but yeah, that Merc in a sea of cars here, particularly the Lamborghinis around him with 100% engine power, which will be absolutely loving the slipstream here. But look at this up front. Ross Rizzo gets past Kobe Williams, and he's already checked out to a 1.8 second gap, and he's got 3.5 seconds on Davidson in P3, or Andre Hargartner, apologies, in P3. And then look at this here. They're lining up again behind Dylan O'Shea down the front stretch. Vulcan Capel, the next man in line. Does he have something for O'Shea into turn 1? He does not. But O'Shea is a bit deep, trying to maybe maximize the exit with a straighter run. It would seem to be that way, but Capel looks to have gained a little bit all the same on the exit of the turn. He's trying to line something up, but nothing going to happen here through turns 2 and 3. But again, slightly better exit, it seems, through the initial part of the corner. But unless he can get alongside before we make the run up this left sweeper, he's going to have to stay in line here over the hill through 6 and 7.
Still very cold track temperatures of 22 Celsius, but the front tyres, or maybe the transition from braking to turn-in for O'Shea, is where it's sort of letting him down. He tries to brake deep into some of these corners and then can't get the nose to the apex. We saw it a couple laps ago at this complex. We kind of saw it into turn number 1. He's worked it out this time. And overall, you know, he's tough to pass, and he did well for himself early goings in this race where no one got past him until the pit stops. But it's just a couple times where it looks like going from the braking to the turn into the corner is either braking too deep or the technique just isn't letting the front grip up.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good summation of things there, and I'd probably put it down to opting to try and send it in deep under brakes and having to take the payoff or the trade-off on the way at the apex and on corner exit in return as we watch this group continue their way around the final turn. The gaps here, you can see almost a second up to Andre Heimgartner from O'Shea, but then half a second, or 4/10, 3/10, and then almost 4/10 again between these guys. They run down to turn 1, no one close enough to make a move once again. You can see, though, Capel opting to do a similar line through turn 1 this time, try and straighten the exit early on there. So then BMWs may be collectively starting to feel a bit of the pinch there. So they will both try and straighten their exits as the first car down onto the pits for the second time is Jordan Peter in the 49 machine. He's been in the wars a bit.
Is he going to get home from here?
In the 49? Yeah, very close to making it. I think if he can make it, it's going to be a bit of a fuel save to do it. I would have said 1 to 2 more laps to be sure. But this would be an interesting gamble from him when it comes to the people he's racing, if he can make that work. And he has come back out, where are you, Jordan? In 22nd place, 8 seconds stationary there for him as he gets that final stint, he hopes, underway. As O'Shea out in the dirt through turn 10, whilst I've been wondering and mumbling about fuel and looking at my timing display, this is going off all of a sudden. Capel through, Davison through, and Connell through here at turns 11 and 12. Oh my God, I'm actually going to have a look at that one again and figure out what on earth set that one off.
Well, Lachlan Capel went for a look and a dive down the inside, was most of the way clear, and then might have just helped him out a little wide there, which then opened the door for the rest. Now you see, again, massive understeer there. Capel goes, all right, my turn, down the inside here. Not all the way clear, just helps him out to the grass, eats a big old DRS sign.
And a driver in the pits. Danny Davidson's going to be the one to go for the short fill, or the come in first and do the shortest final stop he can, it would seem. Fill the tank all the way back up from here and go flat to the end, you would think. So, clock ticking on his final stop. 12.7 seconds. He's away once again out of the box. And that looks like some decently clean track for him. Ben Pollock directly ahead. And he's going to just get out in front of the Simrigs McLaren. That will be Derek Audie. So yeah, Ben Pollock, the next one up the road from him. Otherwise, plenty of clean air for Davidson to work in this next couple of laps. The only thing might be the slipstream around the front straight, but, well, if there's any car to be in tonight, if you want to be undercutting on fuel, it's going to be the Lamborghini or the Audi, given they're at 100% engine power right now.
Yeah, I mean, no one's matching the pace from Rizzo at the minute. 34.5, and he just keeps banging them in. He's got the fastest lap of the race. Kobe Williams just a couple tenths shy of that, and then everyone else in the 135s or 136s.
Yeah, it's certainly a display of dominance from the 784 machine now, and I think critically has set himself up to be the man to win this race, even with that undercut strategy. He comes into the lane here, and he is followed in by Kobe Williams on that short stint early on. So they did 5 laps to start, 10 laps here in the middle phase. They should get themselves another 10 laps here to wrap this one up. It does promote Andre Heimgartner to the race lead, but for how long? Because, of course, not only is there Rizzo and Cape and Williams to worry about, but there is Danny Davidson, who's part of this pack here and is currently out circulating in some pretty clean air at the moment, coming around the final turn just now as that 788 machine.
I'd want to be with some clean air in the Mercedes, given that sort of power deficit that makes passing difficult. But overall, it seems like a pretty competitive and pretty sensible car to be in. So to have clean air for a couple laps for Heimgartner, see if he can overcut some potentially. A good place to be. It's Davison after making his final pit stop.
Is net P3 on the road, and Ross Rizzo, once again, has come out in front. And crucially, Ross Rizzo's a long way up the road. 14th outright, and the number is 8 seconds, nearly 9 seconds up the road from Danny Davidson. That's how much he's been able to manage the pace of the race, and actually still took about the same fuel as Davidson in that second stop of his. So we wait to see, do these guys pull the pin on their run after a 10-lap stint?
I reckon Heimgartner will, but Capel and Connell have got a much longer to go. Remember, they went really long in the first stint. They might just do it again.
They will indeed. So Heimgartner in after 10 laps in response. Dale Carpenter's going to follow Heimgartner in as well. That's Luke Fitt in the background going to follow those guys in. But yes, Capel and Connell, they're starting their 9th lap of their stint. O'Shea and Henn behind them, starting their 10th lap of their stint now. And they'll be short filling their cars to the end as Kobe Williams net second on the road. We're still pretty sure of that fact. Coming around the final turn and down the front straight now for him. He will go on past a fair few of these, we think. Indeed, yes, he will. He's still following Ross Rizzo, nearly 5 seconds back, though. Simon Cox in between the two of them, yet to stop for the second time in this race. The 164 machine. There is Heimgartner out in front of Danny Davidson. Unfortunately, the undercut not looking all that strong here tonight, David.
Well, Davison took less fuel at the first stop, was then mixing it up with the leaders there, and you knew was going to have to take more fuel at the second stop than everyone. He was racing around your drivers like this, your Capels, your Heimgartners.
He did take about the same fuel as Heimgartner in that second stop, I can see. So Heimgartner was a little bit up the road thanks to having clean air and being ahead of O'Shea already. As we see now Capel and Connell and O'Shea navigating the now lapped car of Hilton Booth, the 4112 McLaren. These guys come to lane? No, they will press on and they will do 10 laps. So that gives you a sort of an idea of the range of the cars. As O'Shea and Henn come into the lane. They're followed in by Wayne Hewitt there in the 72 machine, looking to try and recover after the incident that has knocked him well out of contention. Unfortunately, they're followed down into the lane by, that would be number 53, Timothy Audi. And we're advised here, and indeed can confirm, that there are drivers who are going to stretch their tanks 11 laps. Those are the AM class drivers of Sam Lehman and Daniel Cheney. They're now up here into 5th and 6th outright. Question is, do they have the fuel for this? Are they going to, unfortunately, stumble home to the line at the end of this one? We don't want to see that from either of those guys, but they might just be playing with fire and fumes here, David.
Well, we're still a while from Capel or Connell crossing that bridge based on how far they went in their first stint and then appeared to fill it to the brim after that. So they might even consider the same in time. Shortly, we'll know.
They're on their 10th lap currently, 1 lap shorter than what Lehman and Cheney are currently doing. Everyone else in the lead group has gone 10 laps for the middle phase of the race. So what will these two do here in response? Ross Rizzo, 7th place, 20 seconds back. He will reassume the race lead here around the final turn. Your leaders come. No, they will go for an 11th lap as well. So they're going to try and make this the shortest possible final stop on the books. And still feeling happy with the pace and balance, it seems. They are lapping now in the 134s, so they clearly got some decent pace underneath them as Matt Johnson comes in from P3. Unfortunately for them, Ross Rizzo is lapping and matching, if not slightly beating, your race leader here currently.
Yeah, the pace is just mega strong out of that Audi and from Ross.
So there we go, 11 laps. Looks to, well, that's the longest we've seen tonight so far. And it comes from Lehman and Cheney there in that run. It now will be matched by Capel and Connell here.
And Simon Cox.
And pardon me, Simon Cox indeed is also going to join them on the 11-lap run here in this stint of the race. So 9 minutes 20, 9 minutes or so once they're out of the lane and rolling up to speed again here for your race leaders. They've got 22 seconds back to Ross Rizzo, but he will go through to the race lead almost certainly. But there's a 6-second gap, or 5.5-second gap they can slot into between Rizzo and Williams in the train behind. Are they on for a good chance of slotting into second and third here on corrected order, do you think, David?
Yes, because it was a 30-second lane transit time for them last time. They've got to take less fuel than that, probably looking at 28 inclusive of the fuel.
And of course, there is the thing to note that, well, lane time doesn't equal time lost because you are still moving down the lane. Race leader to be Ross Rizzo comes around that final turn. Capel's already moving out of his box, but Rizzo, of course, will reassume the race lead. And indeed, Capel will well and truly be coming out in second place in this race. He actually gets that stop done. 8 seconds of fuel in the car. Jeff Connell has gone for a full refill, it seems, of 13 seconds, taking nothing to chance, but it means he barely gets in front of Andre Heimgartner. Up into P4 for the number 4 machine is still very good gains, only bested by Ross Rizzo in the top 10 tonight, but he's now got a fired up and hard-charging Heimgartner, who would rather like that 4th place back, I dare suggest.
Great comparison for all the kids, the difference between matte black and gloss black, as Heimgartner and Connell are united out on track and very close at that blend at the pit exit and into turn 1.
I believe also Heimgartner might be running a bit of a carbon fiber look as well to add to the effect. Yeah, indeed. There we go. It is actually... Is that a Cam Dance carbon fiber special?
I reckon it could be a Cam Dance carbon fiber special. The Kiwis supporting Kiwis.
Whereas Jeff Connell going for the more plain, all black design. But, well, I guess we can talk about the intricacies of paint selections later on, because Danny Davidson's looking quite racy there in that Lamborghini in P6. Drops off the back of Heimgartner a little bit there, down out of turn number 10. So engine power nerf it might have, but in the hands of someone like Heimgartner, and well, to be honest, any of the front runners in those Mercs, be it Jeff Connell, Andre Heimgartner, or Wayne Hewitt, they've looked like they've had some very good pull down the straights all the same as they come onto the front stretch. And Kobe Williams there, P3 currently, and not that far behind him there. Gap between Williams and Connell down to was 1.3 seconds. Connell, no worries about fuel. He's opted to not pressure himself too much on the fuel save, but he's going to have his work cut out. Hewitt there currently running in 10th place. Matthew Johnson, the next of our Mercs, and also currently running 4th in class there in 12th outright. He's got Jordan Peter to contest that 12th place position here on track currently. Once again, on board, Danny Davidson closing the gap to Heimgartner through some parts of this track. So the back and forth between these various GT3 makes and the way they drive and the way the AusPass BOP is affecting how the engine power is best used around here at Zandvoort tonight. All playing out quite nicely, and we're going to have ourselves, I think, a good finish to the end of this race. Your gap between third and fourth is down to around, if not under, a second now. Connell able to find a little bit on Kobe Williams this time by. Capel, though, you can see currently holding it around 2.4 to your race leader. He did put in a absolute fastest penultimate sector on this lap around, picked up a 10th and a half on your race leader in that sector alone, but loses the tie half a tenth back in the final sector of the lap, and the overall lap is about even, but slightly in favour of your race leader. On board with Davidson once again here, though. Down to the turn one on Andre Heimgartner. He goes, and up the inside, tries to V the apex. He is able to V the corner, and Heimgartner not quite able to contest all the way around the outside. He will have to slot back into P6 there, and Davidson continuing to make moves forward in the closing stages of this race with nearly 5 minutes to go on the clock.
Now Jeff Connell is, I think, out of his fuel-saving mode. He's a little unleashed. Remember, he had to hold something back in the first two stints to go, the longest anyone went on the fuel, as many laps as possible. But now, should be fuel to get to the end, and he's looking very racy. Suddenly into the 134s, matching Rizzo and Capel's pace, which he just wasn't earlier. He's personal bests every which way, and looking for a podium, I think.
Yep, inside a second now on Kobe Williams, as Davidson has unfortunately got some lap traffic there to contest with, as we're checking in with Luke Fitt for a second, and we're going to switch to a replay thanks to virtual racing. So unfortunately, looks like some troubles for the 151. Yes, indeed, up at turn 7. And shy of luck, unfortunately, turning in a bit too early for the corner there was Luke Fitt, as the car got unsettled here over the curb at turn 6. Comes up, and no, he's going to grab the grass on the outside. Saw that from Liam Caplice in pass 2, and unfortunately, Luke Fitt going to do almost a carbon copy of that one there, and has dropped down into 13th place as a result of that one there. David, back to live pitches in the front of the field we go. Second and third are on. Third and fourth are racing. Fifth and sixth are racing, and well, they've got another 3 laps to sort it out here. Add 7th and 8th to that list as well.
There's a couple hot seats, aren't there? That third place, Williams could hold on to this, because we know that the Merc, good as it is, as quick as it is in Jeff Connell's hands, is going to struggle to pass in a straight line. It's missing just a pony or two that keeps it in check and stops it from being unstoppable. This is, of course, the last thing a krill sees before it's eaten by a basking shark.
All right then, well, the jaws of a whale or a shark then, as you were, as quick look in here at another replay. Jordan Peter up the inside of Matthew Johnson at turn 1. Change her position there. Johnson tried to hang on around the outside, and unfortunately is scored a little wide there by Jordan Peter on the exit, and Luke Fitt keeps his foot in it, goes up the inside at turn 2 there. So unfortunately for Matthew, he's down 2 spots within the space of 2 turns. Back to live pitches we go again. And back to the shark's mouth, as I guess we could call it, if we're going to keep this one up. And you said the Merc's down on power and struggling, but, well, who needs power if you're going to have a run off of turn 13 like that? And look at this, he's already pulling out to the inside of Cowards. I think, actually, to be honest, it's such a good run through the corner. He's got nowhere to go, but no, Williams is on the brakes really, really early. Blows the motor!
Gone. Smoke, magic dust out. What happened there? Did he downshift too early? Did he have damage?
I just can't believe what I'm seeing here.
He's got 2 laps to
Clutch.
go. I think he's going to try. What's he done? Tried to clutch coast into the braking zone.
He was clutching in, but
too early, dropped the clutch.
Well, how about this? He put the clutch in, opted to downshift it all the way to first gear, and then slammed the throttle back in. I'm sorry, but that's an incredibly intentional attempt to destroy your motor, and as a result has succeeded.
What? Sorry, was he not Is it possible he's trying to go 5th to 2nd and gave it one too many?
Well, yeah, that's true, I suppose. But it did sound like it hung on the... I'm trying to see here. Is there any sign that he... Let's just see. Goes 4, 3, 2, 1. And then he goes back into 2nd at the apex. By that point, the motor is blown. So, look, yeah, maybe an honest attempt to clutch save that one and roll it into the turn. But I guess I've seen that happen before that... Oh, well. We'll have to leave that one be then and wonder what it could have happened. But, well, that promotes Capel to P2. No, sorry, that promotes Jeff Connell to P3, Danny Davidson to P4, Heimgartner to 5th. Williams now down in 10th place, make that 11th here in a second, and he will not carry on with the race. Another car, though, parked on the inside of the track there. Unfortunately, Phil Audie has come to a stop inside the white lines on the straight. His car looks okay, David, but I think he might have run out of fuel there, but he is now 1 lap down. And yes, has already done 11 laps on a tank of fuel. I think he has tried to push it a bit too far on this final stint.
Well, there you go. Some dreams and some races just falling apart right at the tail end of it here.
Well, nothing like a bit of drama and spice to shake up the end of this race. This is your battle for 5th in the AM class. Sam Lehman and Richard Brookfield as they come through turns 8 and 9 here on their final lap of the race. But check in with our race leader as he rounds the final turn, I think is worthwhile. And, well, it's been absolute domination tonight from Ross Rizzo. Back in form in the 784. He takes a clean sweep from round number 6 of AusPass at Zandvoort. Lachlan Capel there up into 2nd. Will be fairly happy with that one there. In 3rd place tonight, you might be down on engine power, but never count out Jeff Connell, Dane Davidson to P4, and Andre Heimgartner. 2 drivers looking for some good results. Finally get them there with 4th and 5th in the feature. Dylan O'Shea hangs on to be your AM class winner in 6th place tonight. And your top 10 going to be rounded out there by Luke Fitt in the 151 Machiners. Down the front stretch come Lehman and Brookfield. They finished the lap as they started it, it seemed. So nothing too crazy there. Next back there, Tim Audie, Daniel Cheney, they come across in 14th and 15th. Nick Bottrell and Kobe Williams, the last 2 on track. Williams recharged with a new engine, but I don't think he's going to get Nick Bottrell here before the line. It will save Bottrell there to hang on to an 18th place finish, David.
Well, ask any Carrera Cup competitor. Phil Audie's very, very slow final lap wasn't twice as slow as his best lap, so he wouldn't get disqualified by those rules. The last lap, a 2-minute 55 as he sat there waiting for the leader to take the checkered flag so he could then scurry over and save himself the indignity of a splash and dash.
Well, that's perhaps the answer there. He finishes 2 laps short, unfortunately, as a result of that one there. But let's walk you through the rest of the results here from the feature race of the Pro-Am from Zandvoort tonight. Ross Rizzo makes it that clean sweep, as I was mentioning there at the end of that one there. 3.2 seconds clear of Lachlan Capel at the line. Jeff Connell makes it 3 manufacturers, all German manufacturers, as it would also happen to be there. 10 seconds back for 3rd place. Danny Davidson able to recover after, well, elbows out in the middle of that race, but gets into 4th place and able to fend off from Andre Heimgartner there in 5th tonight to make it all pros in the top 5. Dylan O'Shea only dropping down from 1st on the grid to 6th by the end of that one to be the AM class winner tonight in the main event. Christopher Henn there coming home in 7th. Another good result for him and a good return to form, I think he'd say, and hopefully would agree with that statement there. Dale Carpenter, 2nd in AM class tonight, 8th outright for him, ahead of Wayne Hewitt, who unfortunately getting tangled up there in some contact mid-race and losing a couple more spots than he would rather like, I dare think. And Luke Fitt there, 3rd place in AM and 10th place outright tonight.
Got Matthew Johnson, Sam Lehman for 4th and 5th in that AM division, 11th, 12th overall. Then Richard Brookfield, Tim Auty, Daniel Cheney, Aaron DeLuca, Jordan Peter, Nick Bottrell, Kobe Williams. What could have been? What did he think he was doing? I don't think there was any intention to grenade that car. I think he's done something he didn't have muscle memory for and clicked one too many downshifts while braking with the clutch in at the same time. And Simon Cox in 20th did a lot of fuel saving there himself.
Able to make up 4 spots along the way in the feature. Another driver who made some good moves, up 12 to be precise, in this feature race was Derek Audie there in the 88 McLaren. First of your McLaren drivers in the field tonight with that result. Ahead of Ben Pollock there in 22nd. Chu Kang not too far back there in 23rd. And Nick Wood, after unfortunately a couple of incidents where he unfortunately got tangled through what seemed like no fault of his own at first glance, he'll have to settle for being the last driver on the lead lap in the feature tonight. Then it's Hilton Booth, Ben Jeffrey, Simon Dwyer, Adam Jepson, Graham Smith, your drivers all 1 lap down, and several of them unfortunately entangled in the opening carnage of the race. Graham Smith most notably among them. That will certainly make a bit of a dint in his championship lead in that class. Phil Audie unfortunately coming home in 30th with that running out of fuel and being 2 laps shy of the leaders. Daniel Webster there, 5 laps down. Unfortunately for him, not getting to the end of that race either. And then Rob Hill, an early retirement at 13 laps. Brandon Levin, Hamish Munro, Joshua Fitt, and Sean Levin, Munro, and Fitt, all making very early retirements as a result of the chaos on lap 1. And Sean Lacey and Adam Funzo not taking the race start here in the feature tonight. Well, our podium awaits us, David. It's time to check in with them now, and who else to speak with but your round winner. The clean sweep tonight goes to Ross Rizzo. Well, certainly been up the front for a couple of weeks, Ross, but tonight able to put the package together and, a good return to form for you. I think you'd be happy to say that.
Absolutely. That is a big monkey off my back. Pace has been really good this season, but the luck and execution hasn't been there. And this track, I love this track. It's my favorite track on the server. So if it was ever going to be a bounce back, it's going to be tonight. And I'm super thrilled that it happened.
Yeah, obviously starting strong right out of the gates with the qualifying number there, and actually quite comfortably a 10th and a half clear of everyone else tonight at the start of that one. And really, honestly, looked like you weren't challenged all race long there. Co Williams going with you there in the feature race with the fuel strategy early on there. But otherwise, I guess when it comes to track knowledge in a place around here where passing was pretty limited, obviously being at the front would be so critical. I guess how was it sort of getting through the field there with the invert top 10 in the feature race there to end the night?
It went surprisingly well. The undercut was always going to be an aggressive option, knowing that you were only going to get about 2 laps of clear air. So it made it was very important to make those laps stick, and almost didn't pay off when came across the big black Mercedes of Andre, and had to get the elbows out a little bit. I didn't play Mr. Nice Guy anymore with that one, so I'm pretty proud of that move. Don't usually like making contact with my passes, but I knew that was probably the race-winning move because I needed to get a wiggle on to try and make up the deficit that I lost at the start. I actually lost some ground at the jump, so kept the cool for the most part, but knew those 2 laps were really, really important. And then during that second stint, I had a couple of easy passageways throughs with guys not defending and things like that. So the pace was there, the cooperation was there, and probably got a bit lucky. If any of them wanted to get the elbows out, probably going to see a very different top 3.
It's a fair point to make, but I think in saying that, all the same, able to come home there by 3.2 seconds in the feature race, despite the differing pit strategies, I think definitely says a bit about the pace you had behind the wheel tonight. We head to Winton next week, the return to the pre-qualifying track for this season. Any thoughts about that one? Going to be obviously pretty similar perhaps in difficulty when it comes to overtaking, and therefore strategy in the pits should be just as important. Any thoughts about that one coming into it here a week away?
Well, I'm actually going to take a break from the series for a bit. Just want to try and unwind a little bit. I take this stuff pretty seriously, and I've had some almighty dummy spits after the race. It's not been pretty healthy. So just going to might sit out couple more rounds, if not the rest of the season, which will include Winton. But Winton will be probably be quite similar to this, I imagine, just at a lower speed. This track is just nuts in terms of the downforce, so probably a lot more bravery under brakes, I suspect, and probably the bop might come in handy or not. The straights probably aren't long enough. It probably depends whatever cars can get traction out of those corners, and the mid-engine cars have been pretty good at that so far this season. So yeah.
Oh, unfortunately, here we'll be missing you for a couple of weeks, but hopefully see you then before the end of the season in 3 weeks' time, if that happens to be possible. Before we let you go, Ross, who would you like to thank for the results tonight?
Oh, quickly, everyone behind the scenes who makes this series possible, Sam, and all the sponsors. Thanks so much for running such a great league. Going to miss it, but probably is something that needs to happen, I think. Thanks very much, guys, and all the best for the rest of the season. And of course, the guys at Trans Tasman Racing, Virtual Racing School, TP Race Design, Cardiff X Model Cars, Parenzo, Xtrim Motor Trimming, and a quick shout out to you guys at SimSpeed TV for the great broadcast. Daniel, David, and Jay, thanks very much for putting on a great show.
There we are. Thank you very much, Ross Rizzo. Clean sweep tonight, and unfortunately, it sounds like that will be the last we see of him, David, for the season. Great pace, though, to go out on a high note. But I'll hand over to you to chat to our second place finisher in the feature race, Lachlan Capel in the number 18 BMW.
Yeah, good haul of points tonight.
Yeah, it was good. Had a good race. Fuel strategy, really well done by, I believe, both me and Jeff being able to obviously save behind everyone. It worked really well for us, as we were both able to extend the first gap, and then through a little bit more saving, but just because I saved that first lap, being able to, I think I came out in front of Kobe on the second lap, the second pit stop at about 4 seconds. I just needed to extend that gap as much as possible. So it was actually a really good race for me. Traffic was very interesting, and you really didn't want to be in it. You really wanted to be outside, trying to be in clean air and just, lap around. But I didn't really have the pace for Ross, unfortunately. I think the mid-engine cars around here, especially with his power being only like 99 or 99.5, was just really, really dominant around here. And Danny Davidson as well, being really good in quali, but just couldn't get the race thing done properly. But good solid bag of points, P3 and P2, and hopefully I can get myself back in the championship.
What were the difficult spots for the BMW around this layout then?
So that one of the second sort of chicane, it was really hard to pull the car up into the first part, and then the cambered left also was a bit sketchy. I mean, it's not as bad as I believe the Lambos would have been down the extremely fast right-hander down the hill, because I've seen how hard they can snap, and I've experienced that myself as well. So I was lucky enough to be in the BMW for those parts, but a couple of the other parts, the BMW just wasn't as strong, or just lacked the tyre grip to be able to turn around the corner.
And a relatively short pit lane here, aggressive pit in and pit out. Do you think that opened up some of the strategy options a little more than a longer pit lane trundle?
You could say, because I seem to be able to go a little bit later on the brakes compared to most people, and able to get a decent gap between other cars into the pit lane. So at least the main reason why I stayed out on the first part was so that when everyone trundled into pit lane together, I wouldn't have to be behind a set of cars that might check up a lot and then cause 4Xs, incident counters going up, and possibly drive-throughs for unsafe pit entries, or getting any other issues into pit lane that could cost you a lot of time that you lose on track.
Well, save for Rizzo's clean sweep, you were one of the most consistent drivers, always on the podium, good bag of points, and carry that forward in the championship.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. So we'll see how we go to Winton. Not really my strong suit, but after that, really, we're getting into BMW territory tracks, so I'll be sure to spend as much time as possible doing practice in that, to try and see if I can maintain my my consistency levels behind Ross and hopefully try and get a good end result in the championship for this season.
And Lachlan Capel, I don't dare cut you off this time. Who do you need to thank?
I appreciate that one. Just thank Drop Bear Motorsports and both the team managers of Dan and Tom for managing that. I'd also like to thank all their sponsors of Cozy Engineering, Sandblock Lock Media, Hybrid Racing Solutions, and I just got their recent new HR43X Dash this coming yesterday, and it's actually very, very good, so highly recommend picking up any of the dashes there. As well as Revolution Gate race gear for really good gear that I've actually purchased as well. So big shout out to them, and also big shout out to Computer Technology Corporation and my dad for sponsoring me and the series throughout my racing journey, and as well as that SimSpeed and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
All the stuff that Revolution Race Gear deal out's pretty good, except for the I've got a tear in my race bag, so if they're listening, I need a new race bag.
Well, maybe I can try and we can see if we can contact them. We might be able to help you out with that.
Thank you, Lachlan Cafel's support line.
Yes, indeed.
He finished third and second, and he should be pretty happy with that.
Now, there's second place for the round outright tonight, all going fairly normally. But to wrap things up tonight, we're going to chat to our third place man in the feature race, Jeff Connell, bringing that Merc home from outside the top 10 to get to P3 tonight. Well, perhaps maybe one of the places where engine power wasn't too critical tonight. Jeff, how did it feel down that front straight, despite being the lowest engine power of the GT cars tonight here in the Merc?
Oh, you had to get a way better run on the straight to get up next to someone. You could still stay close enough in the toe to lunge someone, so it hurt it a little bit, but it'll kill it later on, like at Spa and Hockenheim with those long straights. It'll absolutely kill it there, but able to sort of punch above our weight in it tonight and somehow get a result in it.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point to make. Qualifying may be showing a little bit of that weakness at the moment when it comes to getting when you're getting clean air and a clean lap. If you can find that, I guess, would you say qualifying tonight for you was a good representation of the car's pace versus everyone else when they've got clean air?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I stuffed up one lap in quali and then got screwed over on another one, so it didn't help. But yeah, I think the Mercs were 8th, 10th, and 11th. So yeah, it's a pity, just through good strategy and good management and a bit of luck, that because the balance of performance only counts for the final, we're actually going to lose more power, even though it clearly wasn't the best car tonight. But that's how the rules are, so can't do much about it.
We'll see how things go and leave that to the organisers to confirm that one for us there. I guess, yeah, obviously a bit of a feisty race one there, trying to be in the back end of that top 10 where it seemed there's quite a lot of action there for you guys tonight. Unfortunately, a bit of contact saw you having to then come back from outside the top 10 to almost get there. Sort of probably doesn't help things, but then you're able to make some really strong moves there at the start of the feature race and just pick your way forward. So how was that second race for you, sort of getting inside the top 10, then just sort of making your way up towards the podium just progressively as that second race went on there?
Well, that first one just killed me. It hit me. Guy just turned right into the side of me and put me back to about 17. So finishing 11th, right behind him, missing the inversion because of that was... thought it killed my night, to be honest. Like, I was surprised to get back on the podium. I never in a million years would have thought I could do that. So yeah, it was just things sort of went right for me in the race. Made a big dive bomb in the first corner, got a few positions, and probably if I didn't do that and have those sort of lunges, it was going to be a drop round anyway. So just sent it early and then just cruised around and tried to get a bit of clean air when everyone pitted. And when I did have clean air at the end, had quite decent pace compared with the guys around me. Like, I came out only just in front of Andre and was able to drive away from him and past Kobe. So tyre life wasn't too bad, and just being consistent, not having any damage helped. So pretty cool to end the night in third. I was pretty happy with that after the first race. So yeah, definitely wasn't a waste. It was good fun.
Well, the series heads to Winton next week, return to the pre-qualifying venue. Guess being another short track, very even more limited power zones around there. Will that sort of be a place you think the Merc can still be competitive, given your concerns there about the balance of performance and the way that will affect the engine power for the car going forward?
It's probably not really a Merc track. It's probably more of a Lambo Audi sort of track. But saying that, it definitely got to take advantage of the short straights and try and just try and get good points while I can, because the last 2 races we'll be driving the Merc with our hands tied behind our back. So don't know about Winton. Just have to come out of there with decent points. So got to make it work somehow.
Well, we'll hope for the best then, because obviously a good fight is a close fight for us here while we're watching. Before we let you go, Jeff, anyone you want to thank tonight for the results there?
Just a privateer car, privateer guy, but thanks to you guys for the awesome broadcast. Thanks to Sam and everyone that puts in the huge effort to run this. Like, get 60 odd cars every week. All mixture of people, newbies, pro guys, pro real life guys. Pretty cool. So they're definitely doing something right and giving us an awesome event every week to have fun. It's pretty cool to be part of.
There we go. 3rd place for Jeff Connell there in the feature race tonight. And that looks like that'll wrap us up for interviews here this evening, David. And, Winton Motor Raceway up next week for the next round of this series. And, another, well, as I said, even shorter track, even less power zone areas, perhaps to really, just straight up is just less power zones to really make any engine differences apparent. But certainly different driving dynamics will come to the fore, given that rotation and braking power will be probably the keys to the races there next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, some big curbs to Wallet, some really tight hairpins sort of in the middle section there, and I think elbows out to get a pass for sure.
Well, you'll get to catch all that action next Thursday night, the 21st of July from 7:40 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, to join us once again as we head into the back half of the season. And, not far to go now, just another 4 rounds of racing. We still have a wild card to throw into the mix amongst all of that as well. So on behalf of everyone at SimSpeed TV, thank you very much for joining us tonight for coverage of season number 7 of the simrigs.com Oz Prime Sim Series. Our thanks as well to all the partners that make this series possible. Of course, the title sponsor, simrigs.com there, along with Phoenix Smokers, Computer Technology Corporation, Shuka Toyota, and Index Designs. If you don't join us next week for the next round here of AusPass on SimSpeed, you can also join us beforehand. We've got plenty of action coming up in the next couple of days. The return of V8 Sculpt starts with Logitech G V8 Sculpt supports tomorrow night, Friday the 15th of July. And we've got ourselves the major series returning on Saturday the 16th of July for a full-length Austrian Grand Prix, iRacing Grand Prix Series, and V8 Sculpts from Sonoma on Sunday the 17th. And then more coming up next week before AusPass as well. My name is Darren Yeaman. It's been David Haynes alongside me in the commentary box. Jake Kennedy on production. From all of us here tonight, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, have a good one.
Fantastic. This is GT Racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up top here! Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?